Hey guys. This is part 4 of What If Naruto Has would release. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 16. Even though all the members of Team Guy had become Chunin, Niji having reached the rank of Jounin, they still got together for training sessions with their Jounin. As much as Tenten and Niji hated to admit it, Guy's training was amazing. That was why they still gathered in Training Area 1 every other day to spar and exercise. "That's right, my young uns!" Guy barked with a sparkling grin as he watched Lee and Niji sparring, Tenten sitting off to the side drinking water. "Youth waits for no one. Give it your all, and then give some more. Youth has long since run away from you." Tenten muttered quietly enough to escape Guy's notice. "Maybe you need to take a breath and calm down a bit." An expertly executed catch and palm strike to the chest sent Lee to the ground, Niji standing over him with his hand raised and ready to strike. "You're still telegraphing your kicks somewhat," Niji said, grabbing Lee's hand and helping him to his feet. "You need to relax." "Thank you for the advice," Lee said with a grateful smile. "But you're just so fast that my style can't help but slip a little in my rush, especially if I want to maintain my power." "Well, practice makes perfect," Niji stated as he turned around and walked 5 steps away from Lee, before turning to his teammate and taking a fighting stance. "Let's go again, Lee." "Right," Lee exclaimed, taking the Goken stance. Before they could charge at one another, however, a voice reached their ears, one that they instantly recognized. "Oh wow, you're all so energetic, even this early." The team spun around to find none other than Senju Naruto approaching, smiling brightly at them. "Oh ho, Naruto-kun!" Guy barked, his grin widening. "What brings you here this early? Training as well?" "Yeah, I was about to start, but I wanted to talk to you first, Guy-sensei," Naruto said, waving him over. "Well then, what can I help you with?" Guy asked, approaching the blonde, who reached up and scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. "Well, in my last fight I fought this guy who was damn near my equal in stamina. One of the reasons why I almost lost was because I wasted way too much energy fighting him. Kakashi-sensei says that it's because I'm an instinctual brawler. I never actually learned a proper style, not even the academy style. He said that if anyone knew a style that fits me, it'd be you. My rival certainly knows what he's talking about, Naruto-kun," Guy said with a nod. "From what I've seen and heard from Kakashi, you are, much like Lee and myself, a fighter whose focus lies in causing external damage and breaking bones." Naruto glanced from Guy to Lee, who gave a wave followed by a nice guy pose. His brow furrowed a bit as he looked back to Guy. "You mean I'm suited for the Goken?" "No," Guy said immediately, shaking his head. "No, the Goken is a style fitting a high-spirited hard worker who has never been trained. It shapes the fighter to fit it." Guy took a few steps back and closed his eyes. He seemed to be contemplating something, and Naruto put his hands in his pockets as he waited for the Jounin to speak again. "With your existing experience in fighting, you have already developed a set of movements that you are comfortable with, Naruto-kun, so it may be damaging to learn a whole new style at this point." After another few moments of silence, Guy opened his eyes and assumed a nice guy pose, a sparkling grin almost blinding Naruto. "Yosh! Naruto-kun, if you will allow me, I wish to help you refine your current form into a whole new style." "A new style, sensei?" Lee asked curiously. He had always been interested whenever taijutsu was involved, after all, so he made his way over to the pair to join in the conversation. "Is that possible?" "Anything is possible, Lee!" Guy exclaimed happily. "How about it, Naruto-kun?" A whole new style, one that actually suited Naruto, one that wasn't just relying on improvisation. This sounded excellent to Naruto, who grinned. Sasuke wouldn't know what hit him, that was for damn sure. "Well, I don't have much else to do. Let's do this." "Yosh! Well then, I will have you spar with Lee, so that we can figure out what to work on first." Niji and Tenten, standing off to the side, were slightly disturbed to see that Naruto's teeth were almost sparkling as he grinned, although his grin looked a lot more feral than the friendly nice guy grins of the green duo. The Kemonoken Beast Fist, they had named it. Given Naruto's natural ferocity in a fight, Guy had deemed Naruto an extremely close-quarter combat fighter, especially given both his natural and his chakra-enhanced strength. This strength allowed him to throw harder punches at shorter distances than normal people, so he benefited from getting real close to his opponents. Guy had also decided that Naruto would benefit from utilizing takedowns, submissions, and joint locks. He claimed that if Naruto took the fight to the ground, then he would be superior whether above or below the opponent. So that became Naruto's morning routine now during his team's downtime. He would wake up at 5 in the morning and meet up with Guy and leave for training and spars. Despite his already considerable strength, Guy still wanted Naruto to start a rigorous physical training, which left him sore every night, much to his surprise. After all, he hadn't struggled with much for years now, other than physical recovery after fights. Soreness from training felt great, to be honest. It had been ages since Naruto trained with proper weights. There was something incredibly refreshing about walking with heavy steps. He felt like the first time he'd started training, and it was amazing. But then, he had another training to focus on, one he'd rather skip if given a choice. And that was... Yo, Kurama! The giant fox was laying behind the bars of his cage as usual, and lazily opened an eye to glare at Naruto as the blonde appeared within his mind, his hand raised in a wave. "What are you doing here?" Kurama grumbled. "Shouldn't you be off playing with the Uchiha or something?" "Probably, but I had to come here instead," Naruto said with a shrug. "Shoho, you're planning on doing as the Cyclops suggested, eh?" Kurama asked, a grin slowly appearing on his face. "You want to try learning how to use my power?" Naruto frowned at the Bija and shoved his hands into his pockets. He was very reluctant to say this, but it had to be said. It was the truth, after all. "Actually, while that was the main reason, I also came to apologize." This made Kurama flinch in surprise. His other eye snapped open in amazement, and he turned his head to look at Naruto as though seeing him for the first time. "Apologize?" "Yeah," Naruto muttered, reaching up to scratch the back of his neck. "It's my body, and by all rights, I can risk its health as much as I'd like, but you're living in here too. My pride almost got us killed in that last fight. I was fighting like only my life on the line. I didn't even consider you." Naruto closed his eyes and took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he was about to say. "And I'm sorry about that." Kurama just stared at Naruto in shock for a while. He didn't speak, barely even breathed. Although Naruto was embarrassed that he felt the need to apologize, a small part of him made sure to file the look on Kurama's face away for later. After a few moments of silence, Kurama let out a scoff and lay down again, closing his eyes. "Idiot! You think you're gonna get me to let you use my power just because you make a show of apologizing?" he growled out. "Get real, brat." "Hey! I wouldn't try anything underhanded as that," Naruto snapped. "I'm being honest here. For once I don't try to antagonize you, and you go and insult me?" "What the hell? Shut up!" Kurama barked. "Like a human like you would ever lower himself to apologizing to a bijou. I'm not falling for it." A muscle under Naruto's left eye twitched in annoyance. While he had been acting sort of rude to Kurama these last few years, and Kurama had done the same in turn, he was actually trying to reach out for once, and the fox does this? Growling, Naruto marched forward, and much to Kurama's surprise, walked right through the bars separating them. He jumped up onto the shocked fox's snout, and walked straight up to one of the massive eyes peering at him. "Oh, Kurama, seriously," Naruto growled out, glaring into the giant slit of a pupil. "One of these days, we're really gonna have to do something about this attitude of yours. It's not healthy." "Why, you cocky little..." Kurama snarled, glaring right back. "If you think I won't crush you, crush me now, and you'll be sealed inside a lifeless body," Naruto countered. "With the seal still in place." Kurama snarled again, his head shooting up and shaking back and forth fiercely to get Naruto off him. But Naruto had managed to stay on Gamabunta's head. He sure as hell wasn't going to fall off this one, especially with a bunch of fur to hold onto. "Do not mock me, you little shit!" Kurama roared. "Do you think that you can just wander in here without consequence? Don't be so full of yourself." Naruto gritted his teeth in annoyance and raised his fist. It came crashing down on Kurama's snout with enough force to knock his head straight down into the water, the fox letting out a surprised grunt of pain. "I shouldn't be so full of myself?" Naruto argued angrily. "You're the one always barking about how much of a disgrace it is to be embarrassed, and about what an ant I am compared to you. I came here extending an olive branch, and you spat in my face." So why don't you get your head out of your ass and start acting a little friendly? As I've always said, like it or not, we're stuck with each other. And I've told you, I don't want to hear it, brat. Kurama yelled back. How would you feel if you were continuously sealed into pieces of meat that were too full of themselves for their own good? Always QB, you're dangerous, or QB, you can't roam free. It makes me sick. Naruto glared at the fox for a few moments longer, but then scoffed and hopped off, heading back between the bars before turning to face Kurama again. I'm gonna go train. I don't want to talk when I'm all pissed off, he stated, trying to sound as calm as he possibly could. But Kurama, you should know by now that I'm unlike anyone you've ever encountered. With that, Naruto turned his back on Kurama and walked off. And how many times since I learned your name have I ever called you Kyuubi? Naruto's form faded from view, leaving a blinking Bijou behind. Kurama stared in silence at the spot where Naruto had just stood. Then he scoffed and lay down once more, crossing his front legs under his chin. TCH. GG, is this brat your? In the real world, Naruto's eyes snapped open as he sat in front of one of the logs at Team 7's training grounds. He frowned to himself. His relationship with Kurama was really weird. Naruto was always argumentative and rude with the fox, but he didn't do it out of hate. He was just annoyed with Kurama's attitude. Honestly, if it were up to him, Naruto would have preferred to be friends with the fox. Well, he'd just have to make another attempt later. That evening, Naruto walked into Yakiniku-Q for a joint meeting with his team and Team 10. Team 10 had decided to meet up for dinner, and Ino had immediately invited Team 7. Since Yakiniku was Team 7's neutral food choice, to keep Naruto and Sasuke from fighting over whether to eat dango or ramen, they had agreed. Everyone was already seated at a table, and Chuji had even started eating already, no surprise there, when Naruto approached them, raising a hand in greeting. Yo, happy folk! He greeted with a smile, taking a seat next to Ino, across from Sasuke. How's everyone doing this evening? Bored, Sasuke said, immediately starting to place meat on the grill built into the table now that Naruto had arrived. We've done nothing but train for the last couple of weeks. Don't know what's so bad about it. Shikamaru yawned, looking bored as usual. To be honest, I could think of nothing better than to be in the Niju Shotai. I mean, the chances of an Akatsuki encounter are slim, and we hardly even get any other missions in order to make sure we're ready to deploy at a moment's notice. It's like a vacation. Vacation for you, yeah, but we want a bit of excitement, you know? Naruto argued. I mean, seriously, we haven't even gotten a measly C-rank mission yet, and it's been weeks since the Niju Shotai was last deployed. He groaned in disappointment, while Ino and Hinata giggled at the looks on his and Sasuke's face. Then he grabbed his plate and snatched a beef tongue off the grill, which got him a glare from Sasuke. Oh, that was mine, I put that there. Yeah, I noticed, thanks for doing that for me, Naruto said, biting down on the beef tongue. It's delicious, by the way. Before a fight could break out, Hinata spoke up. Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun, please don't start fighting. I know you're both restless, but this is a nice restaurant. Sasuke seemed to concede to that point, slowly relaxing before looking around. Has anyone heard anything about Haiden? Dad's been leading the interrogation, Ino said, frowning. Apparently, he's a masochist, so nothing Ibiki-san did had any effect whatsoever on him. But Dad wouldn't tell me anything. Why not? Naruto asked as he furrowed his brow. It's Akatsuki business, so we should be privy to any intel available. We're only privy to the intel Hokage-sama allows us. Shikamaru argued, which made Naruto scoff. No need to be so damn secretive, though. Must be sensitive information. It was another week before anything exciting happened for Team 7, whereupon they were summoned to the Hokage's office. And, as usual, they had to wait for Kakashi. To his credit, though, he only kept them waiting for 15 minutes. Since it's only our team, I am assuming that there hasn't been an Akatsuki sighting? Kakashi mused, looking around the office for signs of any other ninja. No, there hasn't, but I do have a special mission for you, an S-rank mission, Tsunade said, which immediately caught their attention. Team Kakashi, you are hereby ordered to travel to Ricefield Country. There, you will track down and kill the traitor Orochimaru. He has been allowed to roam freely for too long. This made Team 7 go wide-eyed. Wait, Naruto said, sounding amazed. Although the old pervert had called dibs on that job? Will he be joining us? No, Jiraiya has gone on a different mission, Tsunade said shortly, which made Sasuke hum. You sent him on a different mission? It had to be one more important than Orochimaru, then. Akatsuki? Naruto was amazed how Tsunade could have lost so much money gambling when she had such a flawless poker face. Jiraiya's mission is between him and myself, she said. It has nothing to do with yours. Naruto and Sasuke shared a look and nodded to each other. That answer had basically confirmed that the mission did indeed involve the Akatsuki. Apologies, Hokage-sama. Kakashi interjected as he looked up from his book at Tsunade. But doesn't missions involving the Akatsuki have everything to do with members of the Nijua Shotai? Be that as it may, your current mission has nothing to do with that. Your mission is, if anything, more important. I know the snake is dangerous, but more important than the Akatsuki? Yes, Tsunade said, nodding. You have 3 objectives. 1. Find and kill Orochimaru. 2. Find and kill his subordinate Kabuto. And 3. Try to uncover any information he may have regarding his anonymous informant within Konoha. Informant? Hinata asked in surprise. He has a spy in Konoha? No doubt he has many, but my concern is that he has a high-ranking informant within the Konoha leadership. The reports regarding his invasion 3 years ago were very suspicious. Tsunade confirmed with another nod. Kakashi immediately pocketed his book and stood up straighter. I have nothing against the mission, Hokage-sama, but is this safe? He asked, his gaze moving sideways to land on Sasuke. After all, the Sharingan is Orochimaru's goal at present. The risks have been taken into consideration, but I have faith in you 4. Naruto frowned, and Sasuke did as well. They both crossed their arms and shared a look with each other, before they directed their gazes at Tsunade. It's still suspicious how the old pervert isn't being sent on this mission, Naruto muttered, narrowing his eyes. What's he doing exactly? I told you, that's none of your business, Tsunade snapped angrily. Naruto could see that he was testing her patience. She really didn't want him to know about this, apparently. Alright, enough. Kakashi spoke up suddenly, putting his hands on Naruto and Sasuke's shoulders. We're leaving in 1 hour. It will probably be a long trip, so pack accordingly. Team 7 reluctantly, at least in the case of Naruto and Sasuke, left Tsunade's office. As soon as the door closed behind them, Naruto scoffed in annoyance. That must be some mission she's sending the pervert on, he barked. Won't even send us in as backup. Too risky, you think? Apparently the risk of you being captured by Akatsuki is greater than the risk of me being captured by Orochimaru, Sasuke said with a nod. So it must be a very dangerous mission. Damn it, that's all the more reason not to send him in alone, Naruto yelled, his foot lashing out to kick the wall across from him. Calm down, Naruto, Kakashi said calmly. Jiraiya-sama is a capable shinobi. No doubt, his main objective is recon, so it would be too risky to send a team. Especially if the potential enemy is dangerous. Well, I don't like it. You never do. Naruto and Sasuke's gazes met, and after a few moments of silent conversation, Sasuke sighed and nodded. 1 hour later, Kakashi, surprisingly on time, looked over his team with a frown as they stood outside Konoha's gates. While he could understand Naruto's concern for Jiraiya, it was very uncomfortable to see him frowning and brooding. That was usually Sasuke's shtick, after all. The worst part was that Sasuke's personality hadn't done a complete switch and mimicked Naruto's usual personality, so now the lazy Jounin had to deal with 2 brooding students. Maybe I'm getting a bit too old for this crap, he thought tiredly, before shaking his head and waving his hand to catch the attention of his team. Alright, boys and girl, our destination is Ricefield Country. If we keep a good tempo without exhausting ourselves, we should be able to reach it in 2 days. When we get there, we'll plan our search. Sounds good? Not really, but I guess you don't care about that, Naruto muttered, which caused Kakashi to raise his hands in a placating manner. Now, Naruto, I'm concerned about Jiraiya-sama as well, but Tsunade-sama has given us a mission, and we have to carry it out, regardless of our personal opinions. I know. Still don't like it, Naruto growled out, before walking off down the road, his hands stuffed into his pockets. Let's get this over with already. Kakashi frowned at his student's back, watching as the quiet Sasuke and Hinata followed soon after, before he sighed and followed as well. Yep, definitely getting too old for this. Do we even know where Jiraiya's going? Naruto asked suddenly, which caused Kakashi to perk up. Why does that matter, Naruto? We're not going there. But if he sends out a call for backup, we're the best possible team to go help, Naruto argued. But that'd be hard if we were too far away, you know? I don't know much more about Jiraiya-sama's mission than you do. All I have to go on is rumors. And what do the rumors say? Sasuke asked, making Kakashi frown. I can't tell you that. Even if we promise to stick with our current mission until told otherwise? Naruto asked, glancing back at Kakashi with a raised eyebrow. You know we'd never break promises. Kakashi walked with his brow creased in silent contemplation for a few moments. He knew he really shouldn't tell them, but it was as Naruto said, they always kept their word, so if he got them to make the promise, then it couldn't hurt to divulge a bit of information. Alright, but I want the promise first. Team 7 all stopped, and Sasuke raised his left hand, putting his right hand over his heart in an overly dramatic gesture that Kakashi felt was completely unnecessary. I promise not to deviate from our current mission regardless of any information on any other mission I may be given, unless instructed otherwise, he vowed, before looking to his teammates. You too? I promise, Hinata said softly, and Naruto nodded. Yeah, promise. Very well, Kakashi said, sighing. I can't say for sure if it's where Jiraiya-sama is headed, but Shizen let slip that he's been investigating Amigekyo no Sato, so that's his most likely destination. Aim? Hinata repeated in surprise. It's never been a village of any great renown. Not since Salamander Hanzo, anyway. Sasuke agreed, glancing at Kakashi. What do you think about this? Kakashi hummed as he rubbed his chin. AIM is pretty infamous for refusing any greater contact with any of the 5 major villages, so it would be a suitable place to stay out of notice, I suppose. He then glanced at Naruto, who was still looking bitter about the whole situation. Remember your promise now, Naruto. Yeah? As Team 7 walked onward, a bird sitting on a branch above them flew off, and deeper inside the forest, Yamanaka Ino slowly opened her eyes. Amigekyo, she spoke, looking to the blonde teenager crouched down in front of her. Kakashi-sensei thinks Jiraiya-sama is heading for Amigekyo no Sato. He says Shizen-san let slip that he was investigating that village. Naruto hummed as he rubbed his chin. Given their strict border patrol and general dislike toward outsiders, I guess that would be a good place to hold up if you were Akatsuki. He mumbled. Kakashi-sensei didn't notice anything? If he did, he didn't voice it. Good. Naruto and Ino stood up, and Naruto gave his fellow blonde a serious look. I've been assigned another mission, and you don't exactly have clearance to leave the village. If you go with me, we might be charged with treason, you know. I know, Ino said with a smile. But you know, Asuma-sensei always told us that following our gut is most often the best way to go. She gave Naruto a thumbs up. So that's what I'm gonna do this time. Besides, if Jiraiya-sama's mission really is recon, I'd be a great asset, right? Naruto grinned. True enough. 2 days later found Team 7 sitting in their room at an inn by the border of rice field country. The time had come to draw up a strategy for their entrance into the country. Right, before we begin, you two can drop the act, and you can release your Kage Bunshin now, Sasuke. Kakashi said as calmly as though he was merely talking about the weather, making all 3 of his students go wide-eyed in surprise. Naruto eventually gave a scoff and disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving only an ashamed Hinata and a disgruntled-looking Sasuke. How did you know? I was masking my chakra pretty well. Oh yes, that you did. I tried feeling for it, but I couldn't really detect any real difference between your chakra and Naruto's. I'm not really a sensor, after all, Kakashi said with a shrug. It was more your mannerisms. You couldn't mimic Naruto's personality even if you tried. Plus, there's the fact that you called Jiraiya-sama by his name before we set out. Naruto wouldn't do that. And I knew Hinata was in on the ruse because even though I couldn't sense the difference between your chakras, she would have when she did an area check with her Byakugan before we got our room. Sorry, sensei. Hinata mumbled. But Naradash, so what was the point of making us do that stupid promise if you already knew I was impersonating Naruto? Sasuke interrupted with a frown. Why the act? Kakashi sighed and leaned back, a fond smile hidden behind his mask. I knew I wouldn't be able to get Naruto to just go with us on this mission with Jiraiya-sama at risk. Calling your bluff would have just gotten me into an argument with him. While I could have flaunted my higher rank and maybe even gotten him arrested for insubordination if I wanted, I really didn't feel like listening to his yelling. This caused Sasuke to smirk at him, and Hinata appeared to see right through the act as well, because her ashamed look was replaced with a small smile. Plus, you're also afraid Jiraiya's mission will get him into trouble, And you think Naruto would be good backup for him? Kakashi smiled. Officially, I have the utmost confidence in Jiraiya-sama's ability to carry out his mission, and my duty as a shinobi requires me to focus on my own mission. I am also obligated to report Naruto for insubordination when we get back. I'll take that as a yes. So I suppose Naruto had an accomplice? Kakashi asked. I may not be a sensor, but I can sense presences pretty well. I didn't sense Naruto anywhere near us when you were fishing for information, so it had to be someone skilled in stealth. Nothing slips past you, eh? Sasuke muttered. He told me he was going to get Ino to help him eavesdrop while I tried to get information out of you. I should have been able to figure that out myself. Kakashi realized with a nod. The Yamanaka clan has been using wildlife for recon for generations, and their presence is very hard to sense. The Jounin sighed to himself, really feeling too old for this. The fact that he wasn't protesting or trying to go intercept Naruto meant that if either he or Ino got injured while trying to aid Jiraiya, Kakashi might be held responsible as well. After all, Tsunade would realize that Kakashi had seen through Sasuke's henge immediately. She'd probably demote him. Maybe to Genin. Hey, Sasuke said, having noticed the look on Kakashi's face. Don't get cold feet now. You, Hinata, and I are more than enough to deal with both Orochimaru and Kabuto. Still, I'd feel better with Naruto here. Hinata admitted softly, poking her fingers together nervously. I wonder how he's doing. Said Blonde was currently with his now official girlfriend Ino. His head broke the surface of a lake on the east side of Aim, his gaze searching for any hostile presences. While he hadn't sensed anyone before surfacing, he still had to make sure with his own eyes. After he made a gesture under the water, Ino's head broke the surface next to him, a rebreather in her mouth. You know, it's cheating to manipulate the oxygen in the water, she muttered after taking off the rebreather. Naruto just smirked at her. Can you sense Jiraiya-sama? Yeah. He's nearby. I guess he used this lake as well. By the way, how did you know about that underwater tunnel? Ino asked as they climbed onto the surface and started to walk toward the village. I spent 3 years with the pervert, Naruto explained with a small smile. Whenever he decided to go for a bar run, he left me a couple of notebooks and such to study. One of those books had a whole bunch of secret paths into various villages around the world, including this one. Naruto stopped and held up his hand in a half-rammed seal, focusing on his sensing, as he could feel a familiar presence nearby. Oh, that trick, eh? What is it? Ino asked curiously as Naruto smirked to himself. There's a toad on Myobokuzen, empty Myoboku, Gamiyama, who has some impressive transformation techniques. One of them includes turning into a building. I guess the perv is using him to lure in some people to beat information out of. Ino glanced at Naruto as they started walking again, and she smiled at him. You know, every time I hear about the toads, they sound more and more impressive. How many are there, by the way? I've now heard of Gamakichi, Gamabunta, Gamaken, and Gamiyama. There's a whole bunch. I haven't even met them all yet, not that I've even been to Myobokuzen yet. The perv said he'd bring me there soon, though. It'd be nice to share a drink with Bunta in his home. He promised he'd treat me if I showed up. Sounds nice, Ino said with a smile, which was shared by Naruto. The two of them arrived at the location where Naruto sensed Jiraiya just in time to see a building, a bar that had a sign reading grand opening. All you can drink, 500 raya, on it, shrink down at an amazing speed, taking the shape of a rather small toad. The sight, even though Naruto had told her about it, made Ino jump in surprise. He can transform, she barked in surprise, staring at the toad in shock. The toad, Gamiyama, looked up at Naruto, his eyes widening in surprise. Yo, Yama! Naruto greeted, raising his hand. How about you open up and let us in, eh? I need to see the pervert. Jiraiya told me not to let anyone else in other than after the two that just entered. Yama muttered, scratching his head. I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to let you in either. If he's got someone else in there, he's doing an interrogation, right? Naruto asked, to which Gamiyama nodded, which caused the Senju to jut his thumb over his shoulder to point at his fellow blonde. Well, in that case he could benefit from my friend here. She dash. Naruto paused suddenly, blinking in realization. What the hell am I doing trying to reason with you? He asked, before stomping his foot down in front of Gamiyama and giving him a glare. Oi, you little shit! Open the hell up, or I'll tell Bunta you were being stubborn. How's that, then? Gamiyama flinched at that. There were times when the Toads cursed Naruto for becoming such good friends with Gamabunta. The boss of the Toads often made sure to protect Naruto and scold any Toad who insulted him. Fine, not like I wasn't gonna open up. Yama snapped. I was just playing around, you know? Gamiyama opened his mouth, his lower jaw hitting the ground. Then, his mouth expanded, stretching higher and wider until it became around the size of a door. We're going in there? Ino asked, sounding a bit disgusted. It looks gross. Seriously? Naruto asked, blinking at her. I thought you'd been forced to do gross stuff all the time in D-rank missions? I have, but it's not like I've enjoyed it, and I don't really want to do any of it again. Well, it's either go inside, or risk someone seeing us standing in front of a ninja frog. I don't think the ninja of this village would take kindly to our presence. Amazingly, Ino was the first to enter the Toad's mouth, making noises of disgust when her sandals made squelching sounds upon touching the meaty, slime-covered floor. Did we seriously just go inside a Toad's stomach? Gamiyama has special space/time seals on him that sort of turns his stomach into a pocket dimension of sorts. Naruto explained, a frown appearing on his face. The pervert tried to explain it to me once, but I'm not so far along in my Fuinjutsu studies that I could actually understand him. It's a very complicated seal, after all. Though low-ranked foot soldiers, no doubt. Came a voice from further down the fleshy corridor, which made Naruto perk up. It was no doubt Jiraiya's voice. He gestured for Ino to hurry up, and the two of them dashed down the corridor. When they reached Jiraiya's location, they found him standing in front of two AIM ninja, both of whom had their arms enveloped by the fleshy wall, holding them in place. I want to hear Dash. Jiraiya started, but stopped when he noticed the two new presences. His head snapped to the side to give Naruto his strongest glare, which still didn't actually affect the blonde. Hey Naruto, what the hell are you doing here? I thought you were supposed to go after Orochimaru? This made Naruto smirk as he crossed his arms. Oh, I see. Since you left before we got the mission, I guess you gave it to us in order to keep me away from this place, eh? Jiraiya frowned at him. But when he saw Ino, his eyes widened in surprise. Oh, Ino-chan, good thing Naruto brought you. I guess he at least did something right, Dash. I'd like you to take a look at these too. Jiraiya continued, ignoring the indignant-looking Naruto and pointing at the two AIM ninjas. Find out what you can about a guy named Pain, alright? Chapter 17. Damn pervert, scolding me for coming to help him. This selfless personality of yours is gonna get you killed one day. And by extension me. Naruto looked up at Kurama, who was frowning at him from behind the bars. Hey, there's nothing wrong with wanting to help those precious to you, you know. Besides, going after Orochimaru would have been just as dangerous. Yeah, but you work better with the Uchiha. That lowers the risk of a gruesome death, which would involve yours truly. I appreciate your heartfelt concern. Naruto muttered, giving the fox a half-hearted glare, which made Kurama chuckle. Oh, you know me better than that by now, Naruto. It was only spoken in jest, you know. We're in this together, and as much as it pains me to admit it, I'll follow your lead. Naruto, who had already been prepared to offer a retort, was left with his mouth agape, staring at the old fox, who grinned widely at him. Oh ho, finally managed to stump you, did I? The giant fox said with a bark of laughter. Silence has never felt so satisfying. Naruto was prepared to argue with Kurama, to claim that he had only been momentarily stunned, but he honestly didn't feel like it. The fox deserved a win, after all, considering that Naruto couldn't sense a lie in his statement. Hey, Kurama? Naruto asked suddenly, making Kurama raise an eyebrow, which was surprising considering that the fox didn't actually have any eyebrows. The skin above his left eye merely moved up slightly to show that he was curious as to what Naruto was going to say. Why are you so pissed? What? Besides the whole sealed into people for decades thing, I mean. There must have been a reason why you were sealed up in the first place. I'm guessing you were acting pretty rowdy, huh? TCH. The mention of him being sealed up seemed to have brought a bad memory to the surface, as Kurama laid down and crossed his paws in front of him, glancing to the side. I lost someone. What? I'm not telling more, so don't ask, brat. Kurama barked upon seeing Naruto's shocked expression. You're making me feel like I've gone soft. Sounds rough, Naruto said, ignoring Kurama's outburst as he walked up and leaned against the bars. I kinda know what it's like, since I watched the old man die. I know that rage so. You know, I want you to know that you're not alone. Kurama's gaze snapped toward Naruto, who was grinning at him. You don't have to go through everything alone, man. I'm here if you ever want to talk. With that, the blonde faded from view, leaving a stunned Kurama behind. His expression changed to an angry one, since Naruto had disappeared before he could retort, but he soon settled down, and a small grin appeared on his face. Hey, you damn brat. In the real world, Naruto opened his eyes just in time to see Ino pulling her hand away from one of the captured AIM ninjas. That's weird, she muttered, catching the attention of both Naruto and Jiraiya. What's weird? Jiraiya asked, to which Ino frowned. There's a tower to the west, and they think the leader of the Akatsuki, Pain, lives there, but I just don't understand, she muttered. They've been delivering dead bodies to that place for some reason. She raised her hand and cupped her chin in thought. Apparently, legend goes that the tower is where they enshrine the bones of the dead, but there was a woman there to collect the bodies. They called her Tenchi Angel. You're sounding confused, Naruto said, getting a nod from his girlfriend. I confirmed that Pain lives there, and that he has an accomplice in that blue-haired woman, Ino said, humming. But what do they need the bodies for? I guess there's only one way to find out, Jiraiya said with a shrug, looking to the two Chunin. Right, since you two decided to join me, you're officially under my command on this mission. Our objective is primarily recon, so do not engage the enemy unless absolutely necessary, you understand? These guys are Akatsuki, all S-rank ninja, and the leader is bound to be the strongest of them all. Both Naruto and Ino snapped to attention and went, Got it, in unison. Jiraiya nodded in approval, before approaching one of the captured ninja, the one with blonde hair and beard. Alright, we'll be going in through his shadow. Naruto, you're gonna have to help Ino. Naruto raised his hand to grab Jiraiya's attention. Look, I'm here because I disobeyed an order, so I'm gonna need to brief with Sasuke before we leave, just to make sure my team hasn't gotten into trouble for our deception, so I'll be heading off for a while. Jiraiya opened his mouth, probably to object, but then stopped to think about it. He hummed as his gaze went from Naruto to Ino. Then, he gave a nod and said, Alright, we'll take 10 minutes to prepare and check out supplies. Naruto, you check in with Sasuke and wait. How are you supposed to do that? Aren't they approaching rice field country? Well, Naruto said and reached into his kunai pouch, fishing out a scroll and setting it down on the floor. He unfurled it, showing an amazingly intricate seal drawn on it, and he set his feet on the only 2 blank spots on the scroll. This is something I designed while you were off playing around in the red light districts on our journey. I've been fine-tuning it since we got back, and I gave Sasuke a matching scroll. He flashed through a series of hand seals, and then called out, Jikuken Ninjutsu, Mizukagami no Jutsu, Space-Time Ninja Art, Water Mirror Technique. Both Jiraiya and Ino could feel a pulse of energy go through them, but there was no sign of the seal actually working. Jiraiya looked around, then reached up to scratch his head while clearing his throat. Naruto, I know you've gotten a bit far into your space-time ninjutsu, but I don't think this arrow Sennin, don't underestimate me, Naruto told the Sannin with a small grin. I set this up to be a two-way jutsu. While it's not working now, it will once the other scroll activates, and oh! Naruto cut himself off when something suddenly shimmered into view in front of Naruto, a ghost-like apparition of Uchiha Sasuke, who was standing in the same pose as Naruto. The Uchiha gave a smirk. I didn't think this thing would actually work, he told Naruto with an echoing voice that sounded like he was speaking from across the other end of a long tunnel. Well, I guess you called for a status report, and I can tell you Kakashi saw through our rouse the moment we put it on. As expected of Sensei, Naruto muttered with a small grin. So, what's the backlash going to be like? Well, he's not going to scold you personally. We all feel that you did the right thing, but it's his duty to report you for insubordination. But we're hoping that Jiraiya can put in a good word for you and Ino if the mission is a success. If it fails, though, you guys will get thrown to the dogs. Insubordination, desertion. What do you think we'll get for that? Naruto asked, ignoring the shocked look on Ino's face as Sasuke looked over his shoulder. Only the one standing on the seal could be seen and heard from the other side, but Naruto knew that Kakashi was standing somewhere behind Sasuke, talking to him. After a moment, Sasuke nodded and turned back to Naruto. In the event of mission failure, we're talking life in prison at best. At worst, they'll charge you for the desertion and cut your heads off. Nothing we didn't anticipate, though. And we're in it now, so might as well roll with it, yeah? True enough, Sasuke said with a nod. So, I was thinking about a new jutsu that we should practice when we get back to the village. Naruto continued. It's going to be one hell of a jutsu, and it's not even fully developed yet, but if it succeeds. He gave a small whistle. Damn man, we'll be unstoppable. Now you've got me curious, Sasuke said, crossing his arms. What is it? Well, I guess you'd better pray that I survive long enough to tell you, eh? You're an ass, was Sasuke's response. There was a moment of silence, then Sasuke nodded. Good luck. Yeah, likewise. With that, Sasuke stepped off his scroll and vanished from view. Naruto did the same and rolled the scroll up, replacing it in his kunai pouch. Could we really get executed for doing this? Ino asked. You're not getting cold feet, are you? Naruto asked, putting an arm around her shoulder. Don't worry. That's only if we fail the mission, which we won't. We're in it this far, Ino said, leaning into Naruto with a small sigh. I guess we can't exactly back out now. A toad poked its head out of the water at the outskirts of AIM. Its mouth opened and expanded greatly, allowing a full-grown man to crawl out of it, the same man who had been mentally interrogated by Yamanaka Ino. As he stood up, he looked to the toad. Hurry back to Konoha, he told the toad. Find Ibiki. He'll know how to handle that guy. Jiraiya wasn't great at genjutsu, but he knew how to manipulate chakra. By hiding in the shadow of this man, he could control the victim's movements. It came at a cost, however. The user had to hold his breath throughout the entire technique. Thankfully, anyone who rode along with it had no such requirement, so Naruto and Ino didn't need to do so. Jiraiya had used this enough times to be able to hold his breath for a disturbingly long time. In fact, he managed to make it from the outskirts of the village to the tower Ino had pointed out without showing any sign of discomfort, which was very admirable. The space in the shadow where the three were hidden was sort of like a pocket dimension. They could all see each other, as though they were simply laying down on a floor next to each other. While the jutsu somewhat dampened his sensory skills, Naruto could still sense someone watching the ninja as he entered the tower. He nudged his teacher with a frown. Someone knows we're here. Jiraiya had to hold his breath, so he couldn't speak, but he still glanced at Naruto and nodded in agreement. The ninja made his way into a large, open room, and his eyes widened when he saw a large amount of square pieces of paper flying around it as though caught in a whirlwind. The papers charged at the ninja and covered him from head to toe. In front of him, a blue-haired woman wearing an Akatsuki coat materialized, a spear made of paper in her hands and an origami flower in her hair. She raised the spear and made to stab it, but at that moment Jiraiya poked his head out of the ninja's shadow, his cheeks puffing out. He spewed a stream of fire out of his mouth, impacting with the woman. She was seemingly killed, but revealed herself to have used a paper kawarimi, as she appeared some distance away, materializing herself through stray pieces of paper. That could only be your Gamadera, Kagayatsuri no Jutsu, Toad Flatness, Shadow Manipulation Technique, the woman said in a sort of monotone voice as she watched Jiraiya rising from the shadow of the ninja. Her eyes widened, however, when Ino and Naruto climbed out after him. The Kyuubi, she muttered softly. I cast the bait hoping to land this pain guy. Who'd have known I'd end up with you instead? Jiraiya said, a small grin on his face as he watched the half-materialized woman. Conan, you've improved your jutsu, and grown into one hell of a woman. I always thought you were dead. But all this time, you were just a bunch of paper scattered into the wind. The ninja, who had now regained control of himself, stared at the woman, Conan, in shock. You're Tenchi, now you're an angel, Conan? Jiraiya asked in amusement. God's messenger, as it were? This guy's an intruder. The AIM ninja barked as he ran off in a panic. You must kill him, quickly. I take it you two know each other? Naruto asked, ignoring the AIM ninja and gesturing between Conan and Jiraiya. Well, I spent some time teaching her and two other brats way back when. Didn't think any of them would join a group like Akatsuki though. Jiraiya explained, then looked to Conan again. Now, who or what is pain? You don't need to know, sensei. Conan said as more paper sprouted from behind her, forming a pair of wings sprouting from her shoulder blades, something which made Jiraiya scoff. You really do think yourself an angel, don't you? I must kill you, Conan said, refusing to answer. That is the will of God. Boy, she sounds kinda like a fanatic, doesn't she? Naruto quipped, watching as Conan's eyes widened in focus, and a hail of papers shaped like knives was sent flying at them. Naruto quickly flipped through a set of hand seals and planted his hands to the ground, causing a wall of what looked like concrete to shoot up and block the blades, keeping him, Ino, and Jiraiya from harm. Jiraiya immediately jumped up over the wall and spat a great stream of oil at Conan. She didn't have any time to react, and instead just reached up and covered her face as it hit her. It only took a second for her to look over her body and realize what had happened. Your paper can't unfold if it's soaked in oil, Jiraiya said as he stood on the wall, his hair extending and snaking out toward Conan, wrapping around her. You always did love your origami. I remember, you were the kindest one of all the kids. Conan didn't reply, instead merely staring at Jiraiya, and when Naruto let the wall sink back into the ground, he noticed that she had sort of a mournful look in her eyes. What happened to the other two? The rumors that they're dead are lies as well, aren't they? Jiraiya asked, and when Conan yet again refused to answer, instead just dropping her gaze to the ground, Jiraiya sighed. I knew it. Pain is one of them as well, isn't he? Before Conan could speak again, Naruto walked up and nudged Jiraiya with his elbow. I'm sensing some really creepy chakra approaching. If you want to question her, we should just take her and bring her back to Konoha. True enough, Jiraiya said, looking up at Conan again. You know, a few years after I left, I started hearing your names come up occasionally. Any time there was trouble, whoever opposed your side would wind up dead. You have no idea what happened to us after you left, Sensei. Conan said, her tone never faltering, though there certainly was something scathing in her look. You're absolutely right, I don't. But there's no doubt in my mind that what Akatsuki is doing is wrong. Well, that's your opinion, Jiraiya-sensei. The three Konoha ninja went wide-eyed at the new voice and looked up above Conan. There, standing on a couple of pipes that were sticking out of the wall, stood an orange-haired man wearing an Akatsuki cloak. He sort of looked like a Yamanaka with his ponytail and the bang hanging out from over his hitate. He had black piercings all over his face, and his eyes had no iris. Instead, the pupil was surrounded by 5 circles, like ripples in water. He was wearing an aim hitate with a slash through it, and thick, black eyeliner. How the crap? Naruto barked, his eyes widening even further. I only just sensed him approaching. Jiraiya seemed to be ignoring him, instead just looking up at the new arrival. You've changed a lot, but those eyes. So you're Pain and Nagato? He spoke up, no longer smiling at all. I guess you didn't grow up like I'd hoped you would. What happened to you three? There is no need for you to know, Pain said. You're just an outsider, remember? Now, I will have the Kyuubi. Usually, this would have been the point where Naruto would have given a smart-ass comeback, but at present he was busy closing his eyes and reaching out with his sensory skills, to see if there were any other rogue elements that might make a surprise appearance. His eyes widened when he discovered something, and he nudged Jiraiya again. Hey, let her go, pull your hair back. What? Jiraiya asked, snapping his gaze toward Naruto, who was looking unusually serious. Just do it. Jiraiya looked a bit confused, but nonetheless did as he was told. His hair released its hold on Conan and retracted, and Naruto stepped up to give Pain a wave. Right, well, as much as we'd love to stay and chat, we have other appointments. You won't be going anywhere, Q-. Pain stopped speaking when Naruto suddenly turned around and put a hand on Jiraiya and Ino's shoulders, and then disappeared in a blur. The Akatsuki leader stared at the spot where they had once stood, narrowing his eyes slightly to see if the intruders were anywhere else inside aim. I wasn't expecting that, he admitted. Naruto, Ino, and Jiraiya appeared in a blur in the wetlands outside Amigakure. As soon as they did, Jiraiya and Ino immediately fell to their knees, and Naruto hunched over, looking a bit queasy. The other two didn't simply look queasy. They were quick to empty the contents of their stomachs, vomiting without any shame. Ugh, I hate doing that, Naruto muttered, panting softly. What the hell did you? Jiraiya swallowed his queasiness as he glared up at Naruto. What did you just do? It call it Shunken Idu, instantaneous movement, Naruto said, sighing. It's a move I developed to prepare for the Hiraishin no Jutsu. It's unrefined and drains a disturbing amount of chakra, but I felt it was worth it this time. Why the hell did you do that? Jiraiya asked, recovering quickly, as expected of a veteran ninja, as he got to his feet and glared at Naruto. Hell boy, we had the leader of the Akatsuki right there. We could have ended their threat right away. No, we couldn't. Jiraiya flinched. It was mostly because he had never seen Naruto speak with such a serious look on his face before. And Naruto was the type of kid who gave it his all until he could fight no more. For him to say it was impossible without even trying. That guy was a freak. I mean to the point where Orochimaru looks tame. Naruto extrapolated, staring seriously at Jiraiya. His chakra was intense. Not only that, but I sensed 5 other presences approaching. There was no victory to be had back there. For Konoha, it's sometimes worth it to risk your life, Jiraiya argued. If we had managed to land a crippling blow to Akatsu Dash, but we wouldn't have. Naruto interrupted with an angry bark. We would have been slaughtered. Well, you would have been. I would have been knocked out, and Kurama would have been extracted from me. And I'll be damned before I let Ino get killed just because you want to go out in a blaze of glory. While Ino, who had just recovered from the ordeal, looked flattered and made to speak up, Jiraiya spoke before she could. And how the hell do you know that if you don't even try? It should tell you quite a bit. Naruto barked back, glaring at him. Sensei, he said, making Jiraiya's eyes widen, as Naruto had never called him that before. You know me. I never back down from a fight if there's even the slightest chance I can win. I saw no such chance here. There was something really freaky about that guy and his reinforcements. That's unlike you, Naruto. Ino spoke up finally, giving him a surprised look. Aren't you usually gung-ho and damn the consequences? If we had the rest of Team 7 to back us up, I wouldn't hesitate, but just us? That's not enough against this guy. His eyes didn't just look strange. They felt strange too. Rinnegan, Jiraiya said, getting curious looks from Naruto and Ino. It's the greatest of the 3 Jujutsu, and is said to have been sent down from the heavens themselves. But that's just a myth, isn't it? Ino asked, her eyes widening in amazement. It's not supposed to be real. And yet there it was. Jiraiya muttered, crossing his arms. All right, we at least managed to put a face on the leader of the Akatsuki, and the names. It's better than nothing, I suppose. Let's get this information back to Dash. He stopped suddenly when someone landed in front of them, the spiky-haired leader of the Akatsuki himself. He was giving them an emotionless look, the Rinnegan somewhat unnerving Naruto. That was a surprise, but there is no escaping Kyuubi, Pain said, making Naruto's eyes widen. Shit. The blonde muttered before quickly biting his thumb and flashing through hand seals. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. In an explosion of smoke, a very tall toad appeared, heavily armored. It was the same toad that had blocked Samahata's swing all those years ago. Gamada, Naruto said, jerking his head toward Ino. Get her to Konoha at top speed. Wait, what? Ino barked. No, I'm staying. This guy is way out of your league, Naruto said, an unusually serious expression on his face. Probably out of ours as well. You'll be pulverized. Gamada. Right. The toad barked, picking up the protesting Ino, before tensing his legs and shooting off at an insane speed. You should have gone with her, Jiraiya said, which made Naruto scoff. I came here to make sure you don't die. Kinda counterproductive if I leave now, isn't it? Kyuubi. Pain spoke up, having allowed Ino to escape without a fuss. His priority was Naruto, after all. Come quietly. Jiraiya-sensei, don't put up a fuss. Were you really expecting us to just comply? Naruto asked, getting into a ready stance. Why don't you bring the other 5 out of hiding? You notice. Pain spoke, and as if on cue, 5 other men jumped out of the water surrounding them, all of them with orange hair, black piercings, and wearing Akatsuki coats. As you can see, there is no way for you to win. You certainly have changed, Nagato, Jiraiya said, but the Akatsuki didn't answer. Instead, the one of the 6 with hair like Ino clapped his hands together. Kuchiyos no Jutsu! Behind him, there was an explosion of smoke. Out of the smoke came a giant crab creature, bounding over the Akatsuki leader toward Naruto and Jiraiya. They could hear it sucking in a deep, clicking breath, before it spewed a large amount of bubbling water at them. The spray forced Naruto and Jiraiya to jump to either side, separating. Naruto! Jiraiya barked, and Naruto grinned slightly as he landed in a crouch. Got it! The blonde exclaimed as he shot off like a rocket, smashing into the crab and knocking it onto its back. Kneeling on it, Naruto did something only he could do. He launched a series of 50 rapid punches so fast that the naked eye couldn't follow them, slamming them all into the crab with enough force to dig its back deeply into the dirt, its carapace breaking and splintering. At the last punch, it was no longer moving. Naruto backflipped away just in time for the crab to disappear in another explosion of smoke. He twisted in midair, noticing another one of the pains, because they had to all be pain, sharing the same chakra and all. A tall guy with a very creepy smile on his face raised his hand in a fist, pointing it at him. With a flash of flame, the hand detached itself from the arm and flew at Naruto like a rocket. Naruto's own hand rose to intercept it, grabbing it in midair by the wrist and changing its angle of approach, causing him to spin like a top in midair several times, before finally letting go and returning it straight back to the sender. If that pain was surprised by this, he didn't show it, still that smile on his face, and he simply ducked to avoid the rocket fist. As soon as he landed, Naruto was forced to avoid a deadly kick to the head from a large, burly-looking pain, then a punch from a fat one. Ducking under another punch, Naruto flashed through hand seals and whipped his head around toward the burly one, his cheeks puffing out. A ball of compressed air smashed into Pain, who was sent flying, still with that emotionless expression. Was it completely impossible to surprise these guys? In any case, he spun around and sent another ball at the fat one, who stood his ground. Naruto was incredibly surprised when he saw that his jutsu had no effect on the guy. In that case, Naruto growled, forming a Rasengan in his hand. He charged at the man and thrust the ball into his chest, only to find his Rasengan disappearing in an instant, and he found himself pressing an empty palm into the fat Pain's chest. What? The blonde was distracted for a second by a shockwave coming from some distance away, and he turned his head to see Jiraiya get sent flying by an invisible force as he charged at the spiky-haired Pain. This was all the fat one needed to lock his arms around Naruto's own. What the? Naruto muttered. He made to rip this man's arms off, but he suddenly felt himself going weaker. Wait. What the hell was this? His eyes widened. He's absorbing my chakra. Naruto struggled more. Even his impressive physical strength was useless if he couldn't muster the energy to use it. Then an idea popped into his head. His legs were still free. With a furious yell, Naruto drove his knee straight up into the fat Pain's soft parts between his legs. Finally, he got a reaction. The fat Pain's eyes bulged slightly, and he let out an oomph of pain, his grip on Naruto loosening enough for the blonde to break free. Naruto took a step back, giving himself a second to recover his energy, and then growled. Get fucked! He barked at the fat Pain, before delivering another kick to the man's nether region. This time, it was with his full physical strength, powered by chakra. No doubt the man was too distracted to focus on absorbing it. The kick hit its mark, and Naruto was treated to the sight of a fat Akatsuki shooting straight up into the sky like a rocket. Naruto was wondering why the strange hand-launching guy hadn't attacked yet, and his answer came in the form of an explosion of smoke from the Ino lookalike. The ground shook, and out of the smoke came a massive rhino, its eyes bearing the telltale marks of the Rinnegan. Naruto, however, had recovered his strength, and this was his territory more than anything. Roaring, he charged at the rhino. They impacted with each other, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. The shockwave was enough to send the other Pains and Jiraiya stumbling slightly, and then Naruto grabbed the rhino by its lower jaw. What followed next was impressive, even Pain had to admit that. Naruto hoisted the rhino into the air, vaulting it over him, and slamming it down onto the hand-launching Pain. There was no doubt in Pain's mind that the Azura path would have a difficult time recovering from that without the Naraka path, and the Naraka path had been long since blown away. And the Preta path was still maintaining its unscheduled flight. The spiky-haired Deva path stopped to consider for a moment, batting away a barrage of fire from Jiraiya with his Shinra Tensei, almighty push. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki has become quite strong in these last few years. It was only him, the human path, and the animal path left. And the human path was practically worthless in combat. Perhaps it would be prudent to come up with a proper strategy against this child? We leave, the Deva path said, making Jiraiya's eyes widen. He made to jump away, but would suddenly burst from the ground, wrapping around Deva's arms and legs, tying him to the spot. Some distance away, Naruto was kneeling with his hands against the ground. Oh no, you don't! Naruto said, grinning. Arrow Sennin! On it! Jiraiya yelled back, charging up a Rasengan and rushing at the Deva path, only for his eyes to widen as he was blown back yet again by an invisible force, the wood restraining Pain shattering and sending splinters flying everywhere. "Consider this your victory, Kyuubi," Deva said, turning his head to look at Naruto. "However, we will meet again." With that, the 3 remaining Pains disappeared in blurs, making Naruto grit his teeth. "Wait, Naruto," Jiraiya said, stopping Naruto in his tracks as the blonde made to follow. "No doubt he retreated to think of a strategy against you. We should do the same." "But we had him on the ropes," Naruto yelled. "He was nowhere near as dangerous as I thought he was." "He underestimated you," Jiraiya countered. "The fact that he's retreating means he won't make that mistake again. Let's take this victory and get back to Konoha with as much information as we can." The toppled rhino disappeared with a poof of smoke, revealing the smashed Pain underneath it. Its body looked completely mechanical, almost like a puppet. "We'll be bringing him as well," Jiraiya said, nodding toward the corpse. "Fine," Naruto muttered, cracking his knuckles. "I barely even got to use my jutsu though." "You were really scared of him back there, yet now you're itching for a fight?" Jiraiya asked in surprise, which made Naruto chuckle, sounding slightly embarrassed as he scratched the back of his head. "Well, his chakra just felt weird back there. I've never sensed something like that before, but when I found out he can break same as any other man, that kinda lowered the fear factor a bit." Jiraiya stared at Naruto for a moment, then sighed with a small smile on his face. "Put him in a fight, and no amount of fear would stop him from fighting. Well, maybe that never-give-up attitude was what made him so damn lovable." Buttonhook entry, as always. Understood. Kakashi was kneeling on one side of the door to the throne room of the underground bunker, while Sasuke and Hinata knelt on the other side. Sasuke reached up and placed an exploding tag on the door. They were still for a moment, then Kakashi nodded to Sasuke, who detonated it. The door was blown inward off its hinges, and the 3 ninja darted inside, ready to face whatever dangers were there. "And he's gone," Sasuke concluded as the smoke cleared, revealing the empty room. It was dark, and any traces of Orochimaru's scent were old enough to reveal that the snake hadn't been there for at least a week. "Another one down," Hinata mumbled with a disappointed sigh. "This is the 4th hideout." Sasuke grunted, giving Kakashi a small glare. "Is it safe to call this mission a failure yet?" "Yeah," Kakashi muttered with a sigh, running a hand through his hair. "I think it's safe to call it that. Let's hope Naruto had better luck." Chapter 18. "Pain, you let them go?" came the voice of Konan in the empty room. Empty, save for her and the Deva Path Pain. The man himself stood by the balcony, staring out at the village with his usual emotionless look on his face. He hummed in confirmation. "Why? You have never lost a battle before." "This was no loss, a mere tactical withdrawal," Pain said simply. "The Kyuubi had barely even started using his full power, and yet he destroyed the Azura Path. The Naraka Path has 9 broken ribs, and the Preta Path has a broken pelvis and 3 shattered vertebrae. I will need to recover and find a new Azura, and come up with a proper strategy. The Kyuubi is stronger than I had calculated, and so I underestimated him. It is that simple. I warned you." The new voice, dark and mocking, made Pain look toward the corner of the room, to see the cloaked Toby stepping into the light, his one-eyed, orange swirl mask still on his face. "Toby," was the only greeting Pain gave him. "I told you that Senju Naruto was not to be underestimated. Even you, with all your power, isn't without at least a near equal." "Lesson learned," Pain stated, returning his gaze to the village. "It won't happen again." Obviously, since you don't have an Azura Path for him to smash with a rhino again," Toby quipped, which caused a barely noticeable twitch to appear under Pain's left eye. Enemy or not, that was still a pretty damn impressive move, Pain had to admit. Disregarding that, though, Pain noted something in Toby's voice, which made him glance at the masked man again. "You admire him?" "I have respect for him as a warrior," Toby clarified. "All my sources tell me that he embodies the best of his ancestors' talents. Come to think of it, Kisame is practically itching for a fight against him. As such, if it were to come to it, even I would be cautious in a battle against him. I will come up with a proper strategy. See that you do." After this, he will surely never leave Uchiha Sasuke's side. Alone, they're bothersome. Together, they could be a great threat. As I said, Pain almost growled, a hint of emotion bleeding into his voice as he turned to give Toby a dangerous stare. "It won't happen again." Toby stood there in silence for a while, but then chuckled, shrugging in resignation. Well, I wish you the best of luck, that I do. Remember though, don't do anything rash. The air around his eyehole started swirling, a small wormhole that sucked the masked man into itself, leaving only his parting words in his wake. I still need you, after all. So, Conan spoke up after a moment of silence. Do you have a plan? Senju Naruto's greatest weapon is his Mokuton. He focuses on large-scale destruction to overwhelm his opponent. Pain said, raising a hand to his chin. So we remove his ability to use it. His soft heart won't allow him to use it when faced with the threat of collateral damage. He turned around to look at Conan. He remained emotionless, but Conan had known him long enough to recognize the triumphant look in his eye, an idea taking shape. Especially if it threatens his fellow villagers. Tsunade was giving both Naruto and Ino a harsh glare as the two stood in front of her desk alongside Jiraiya, who was looking a bit exasperated, mostly because Naruto was looking as impudent and defiant as ever. So? Tsunade said, looking over the two Chunin. Why did you leave the village border? And Naruto, why did you abandon your mission? It was Jiraiya who answered. My student felt a great need to provide me with backup, one that was much needed, I might add. And Yamanaka Ino came along because my mission was originally strictly recon. She had no mission assigned to her at present, so she was a great asset that allowed us to discover the whereabouts of the Akatsuki leader. Ino was looking nervous. She was fidgeting and scraping her sandal against the floor. Naruto noticed this and reached up, placing a hand on her shoulder and giving her a comforting smile, before giving Tsunade a serious look. I'm taking all responsibility for Ino's actions. I'm the one who roped her into going with me. Naruto, no! Ino exclaimed with an alarmed expression on her face as she took a step forward, steeling herself. Hokage-sama, I volunteered to go with him. Naruto even urged me not to. The responsibility is my own. Tsunade sat there, watching them for a long while, her gaze moving from Ino to Naruto, and then settling on Jiraiya. Then, she closed her eyes and sighed. Very well, this incident will be kept out of the public records. For all anyone knows, Yamanaka Ino has been in the village the whole time, and Senju Naruto went with Team 7 in the attempted assassination of Orochimaru. She spoke, reaching up and pinching the bridge of her nose. But I don't want this happening again. Now Naruto, Ino, you may leave. Jiraiya, stay. The two Chunin nodded to the Hokage, before leaving the office. Once the door was closed, Ino leaned against it and gave a great sigh of relief. That look she gave us, she muttered, clutching at her chest. I thought she was going to give us a harsh punishment for sure, maybe even demote us to genin. You worry too much, Naruto said as he slung an arm around her shoulders and pulled her away. Bachan acts tough, but she's really a big softie. She doesn't seem like it. Well, if you piss her off, sure, she'll smack you one, but she understands when things are important to someone. Smack you one? Ino asked cautiously, which made Naruto laugh. Yeah, she broke my jaw once because I made a comment about this and that. I almost died. Sadly, it seemed that Naruto's attempt to reassure Ino was having the opposite effect. She seemed downcast, her gaze fixed firmly on the floor as they walked. Maybe she's just waiting to get me alone so she can do the same. Hey, don't worry, Naruto said happily, pulling her closer. If she wanted to hit you, she would have already done so. Now, how about we go eat some Ichiraku ramen to celebrate a mission accomplished? At least you saw some action. Sasuke had been sounding bitter ever since he returned to Konoha. In any case, Naruto and Sasuke now sat in the sun at Team 7's training ground, their backs against the logs. And what did we get? 4 empty bases filled with spiderwebs. You know, we could have died back there if that pain guy hadn't underestimated us, Naruto remarked, which got him a scoff from Sasuke. We both know you're too stubborn to die. Now, you said you had a new jutsu to practice? HRHM. Actually, I don't think we can practice it just yet. Naruto muttered, reaching into his kunai pouch and taking out a scroll, handing it to Sasuke, who took it and opened it. It's still in development. I was hoping to get your input. This. Sasuke gasped, reading over the formula, his eyes wide in amazement. How the hell did you come up with this? I came up with it in a dream, Naruto told him. I thought it'd be fun to see if it could work. Well, the chakra merge is sound in theory, Sasuke muttered, his gaze still glued on the scroll. I just don't see how it would hold up in practice. If this goes even somewhat wrong. Hence why I wanted your input. This isn't some jutsu we can go into half-cocked. The theory has to be perfect. Sasuke shook his head, still poring over the incredibly complicated technique. Naruto always acted like a blockhead, but it was during times like this that he showed what a genius he was when it came to jutsu. This is insane, even by your standards. Why would I even consider helping you with this? Come on, you know it would be amazing, Naruto said, grinning widely. Sasuke stared for a few moments more, then smirked as he glanced up at Naruto. You were right, we would be damn near unstoppable. Before Naruto could speak, an ANBU blurred into view in front of them. Yura drew the short straw again, it seemed. Yo, Yura Taicho! Naruto exclaimed, raising his hand in greeting. Bachan wants to see us? That's right, Naruto-sama, Yura said. Please grab onto me. Both Naruto and Sasuke mentally debated whether or not to instead race to the Hokage Tower. Eventually, their competitive spirit won out, and Naruto grinned to Yura. Don't worry, we'll get there on our own. With that, the two of them dashed off, leaving the cloaked ANBU captain alone. The ANBU stood up and looked around, then sighed. I swear, make one comment about the Hokage gaining weight, and suddenly I get all the crap assignments. The Hokage Tsunade could be a very vindictive woman. And sending for Naruto and Sasuke proved to be less than pleasant for Tsunade herself, for as she sat behind her desk, sipping a cup of tea and going through a bit of paperwork, she found her newly replaced window smashed as a yellow blur went through it yet again. Tsunade, temporarily forgetting that she was a ninja who should always remain on guard, especially around her grandson, let out an embarrassing yelp, the cup flying from her hand and splashing her face and chest with tea. Thankfully, it wasn't scalding hot anymore, or she would have been very cross indeed. First, Senju Naruto barked triumphantly, after which Sasuke came jumping in. Not fair. You only came first because I stopped to open the damn window. Should've just gone through it like me. Naruto's triumphant grin faded away when a wave of killing intent washed over him, and he turned his head to see Tsunade, drenched in tea, slowly rising from her chair, her wet bangs casting her eyes in shadow. He could see the vein pulsing in her forehead, threatening to explode. Nah, are you two? You damn. In a blur, she was behind him, and her fist smashed into his cheek so unexpectedly that he didn't have time to react, packing the force of damn near 100 meals. The window next to the one he had come through exploded as the blonde was sent flying into the distance. Moron. Sasuke gulped as he stared at the fuming Hokage, a bead of sweat rolling down his temple as he raised his hand to cautiously catch her attention. I want it noted that I stopped to open the window. Only now did Tsunade seem to notice that Sasuke was there as well. She released a sigh, trying to look as dignified as possible. Thankfully, Sasuke wasn't the type to stop and ogle her chest. The now cold tea had made certain parts of her upper body very noticeable. She coughed into her fist. Sasuke, I'll need you to wait outside for Naruto to come back while I dry myself off. Sasuke was quick to comply, leaving her office to wait outside. Tsunade cleared her throat again, then grabbed a paperweight and threw it up at the ceiling. A ceiling panel loosened, and a red-clad figure with white hair fell down. When the dust from his impact with the floor cleared, it was revealed to be Jiraiya. He seemed to know exactly what would happen, because he chuckled nervously. I guess I have to go see if Naruto survived that, huh? He asked with a gulp, and the grin on Tsunade's face wasn't comforting in the slightest. Yes, the expressway. The sound of fist meeting cheek rang through the office, and Jiraiya shot out of her office like a rocket, heading in the same direction that Naruto had flown. Naruto returned 5 minutes later, packing a swollen cheek. Jiraiya was nowhere to be seen, though. Tsunade had changed and once more looked professional, once more clearing her throat to catch the attention of Naruto and Sasuke, who were standing in front of her desk. Now, why I called you here? She muttered, giving them a serious look. I want the unofficial reports. Unofficial? Sasuke asked curiously. What do you mean? As I said, this is unofficial, so there will be no reprimand. I take it Naruto didn't act on his own when he abandoned the Orochimaru assassination? Tsunade asked, giving Sasuke a significant look. It wasn't in Kakashi's report, but I can put 2 and 2 together. I know all of Team 7 was complicit in the desertion. It wasn't desertion per se though. Naruto quipped, but shut up when Tsunade glared at him. This time, it worked out for the better, but I don't want you kids pulling this kind of shit again. Tsunade growled. I've given you a lot of leeway recently, but I can't have you abandoning your mission. Imagine if Orochimaru had been there. Imagine if he had a large group of soldiers there. The consequences could have been dire. I think you're underestimating Team 7, Naruto said with a scoff. However, he still nodded. Don't worry. So long as you don't send the pervert on another suicide mission, I won't be disobeying orders. I didn't order Jiraiya to dash, but you agreed to it. Naruto interrupted. I know it's an honor to give your life in the line of duty, but that should be a last resort, not the first choice. Are you telling me how to do my job? Tsunade asked, a dangerous look in her eye. Naruto, however, just nodded. If I hadn't been there, I would have lost my godfather, and you would have lost your oldest friend, he argued, remaining adamant. As it is now, we got information on Akatsuki's leader, and the old pervert survived. I'd consider that a win-win, and I have no regrets. Tsunade opened her mouth to argue, but then sighed. You're not going to budge on this, are you? Nope. And you? Tsunade continued, looking to Sasuke, who sighed. I don't really like disobeying orders, but I'm with him on this one. I have no regrets, and I'd do it again with impunity. You too. Tsunade muttered, palming her face. She'd been hoping that, unofficially, they'd show at least some regret, yet of course, the dynamic duo were two bodies, one mind in these matters. And of course, they'd both be impudent little brats. She didn't know why she thought an unofficial hearing would yield any better results than the official report. In any case, on to the next agenda. She spoke up, turning serious again. I want to give you all the details we have gathered on the leader of the Akatsuki, Pain. Naruto and Sasuke both perked up as she dug two files out of her desk and set them down in front of the two. Read it, memorize every detail. Odds are you're going to be fighting him soon. Then I guess we'll have to do our best to finish that jutsu, Naruto said, glancing at Sasuke, who nodded, although he looked reluctant to do so. It'll be a pain to match yours, but I'll give it a shot. Eh? Tsunade voiced, blinking. That jutsu? It's a surprise, Naruto said with a grin, picking up the file. Well, if that's everything? Yeah, that's everything, Tsunade said, realizing she wasn't gonna get any answers anytime soon. Also, Naruto. I have withdrawn your clearance to study the Hiraishin in the Forbidden Scroll, Tsunade said, which made Naruto go wide-eyed. Before he could protest, however, she took out a piece of paper and handed it over. You have free rein. Read and study the whole thing with your usual impunity. What? Sasuke barked, snapping his head toward Naruto with a furious glare. But that means… Aha! Naruto exclaimed, that triumphant grin once more adorning his face. I will be the most awesome of the team. Uchiha Sasuke, constantly number 2. This is not fair in the slightest. Sasuke muttered, watching as Naruto skipped out of the office. Tsunade watched as Sasuke left, waited a few seconds, and then called out. Right, you can stop hiding now. Jumping in through the broken window was Jiraiya, who was grinning widely, despite his swollen cheek. Oh ho, you gave him the whole scroll to study, huh? I thought you said it'll give him a big head if he gets more power, when we discussed it last? He said with a hum, rubbing his chin. Believing in him more than you thought you would, It's not like the brat can get a bigger head than he already does. Tsunade huffed. Besides, given the abilities of Pain, I think he'll need all the help he can get. True, there were some of them that we never managed to figure out the abilities of. Well, he's going to have to hold off reading from that thing. Oh? Tsunade uttered, raising an eyebrow curiously. Have another training trip in mind? Somewhat, Jiraiya said as his grin widened in what looked like excitement. He's already damned close to mastering it naturally, so I'm taking him to Myobokuzen. I'm gonna have the elders teach him senjutsu, sage arts. He had already gotten permission, after all. The Toad Temple was a huge room, the walls and floor a bleak brownish gray. In the back of the room sat a huge, wrinkled old toad, soaking in an oil bath. His eyes were barely open, and he wore a bead necklace with the kanji for oil on it. He really looked like he was lounging lazily, appearing uncaring and completely relaxed. On either side of him sat smaller toads, about the size of Gamakichi when he was young. Both were wearing cloaks that covered their bodies from their neck down. Strangely enough, the male toad actually had eyebrows, long and bushy ones colored gray with age. The female toad's head was shaped as though she had a full set of hair with hair rollers in, yet if one looked closely they would see that it was just her head that was shaped very strangely. In front of the huge toad, Jiraiya was kneeling, his head bowed in respect. "Oh, Jiraiya-chan!" The large toad spoke in an ancient voice, a small smile appearing on his face. "It's been a very long time since you last visited us." "So?" he asked, turning to look down at the male toad. "When is Jiraiya-chan coming?" "He's right here, elder." The toad with the eyebrows muttered, a bead of sweat rolling down his temple. Right. "Welcome, Jiraiya-chan," the elder said, smiling down at the toad sage. "So, what brings you here?" "Elder-sama," Jiraiya said, bowing his head lower. "I come to you today to ask your permission to bring my student here to learn senjutsu." "A simple request, to be sure," the elder said as he nodded his head. "However, Jiraiya-chan is already deep in training, and we cannot possibly take on another dash. Jiraiya-chan already finished his training, you senile old fart." The female toad barked at the elder, who perked up in surprise, staring down at Jiraiya. Said toad sage was gritting his teeth. He already knew the elder toad was senile and tended to forget details and such, yet it always frustrated him whenever he met the toad. Even Gamabunto was easier to deal with than this guy. "So he has." "That was quick," the elder said in amazement. "Now, Jiraiya-chan, you had a request?" "Why yes, Elder-sama," Jiraiya muttered. The things he went through for Naruto's sake. "I wish to bring my apprentice here." "Oh, the little Senju child." Amazingly, the elder seemed to have experienced a brief moment of clarity, nodding slowly to himself. Of course, if anyone can completely master the volatile nature chakra, it would certainly be him." "Very well, I approve. Bring him to me as soon as possible." "Thank you, Elder-sama!" Jiraiya exclaimed, bowing deeply enough that his forehead touched the floor. "You're very welcome. Now, when is Jiraiya-chan coming?" Jiraiya sighed. "I hope the brat appreciates what I went through for him," Jiraiya muttered, his mind returning to the present. The elder was never fun to deal with, that was for sure. Both Naruto and Sasuke were panting heavily, laying in the dirt at their training ground with sweat pouring down their faces. They both looked like they had been through a war. In fact, Sasuke had never seen Naruto this tired, except when he fought Kakuzu. "Damn. This really is difficult," Sasuke muttered between gasps. "I didn't think." He cut himself off, feeling the bile rise in his throat and fearing he might vomit from exhaustion. "You're not freaking sinking!" Naruto barked, although it lacked his usual ferocity. He was too damn tired to muster enough energy to properly bark at Sasuke. "I told you, we have to match our chakra. Look, this goes both ways. You want to get some, you have to give some, you know?" Sasuke barked back. "We're supposed to sync, not have one of us adapt to the other." Both ninja looked up at the third voice, one long since familiar to them. Indeed, Hinata had arrived at the training ground. "I made lunch for you, if you want I eat." Hinata flinched as both ninja lunged at her, each grabbing one of the 3 boxed lunches she was carrying. She recovered quickly, however, when she saw them wolfing down the food. Naruto and Sasuke both paused at the same time, looked up and tried to see how much the other had eaten. They locked furious gazes for a moment, and then went right back to eating. Hinata was used to this by now, so she calmly sat down and opened her own lunch, calmly and methodically taking her chopsticks and eating it, in no rush at all. "Bwah!" Naruto gasped, the first one to finish eating, as he collapsed onto his back and grinned up at Hinata, clapping his hands together. "Thanks for the meal, Hinata! Delicious as always!" "HN," Sasuke grunted, finishing his own lunch and turning to Hinata. "You did something different with the Nikimon, didn't you?" At this mention, Hinata's eyes widened with joy, clapping her hands together and completely forgetting about her own lunch for a moment. "I added a bit of pepper to the meat," she said, smiling brightly at Sasuke. "I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wasn't sure if you liked Naruto-kun." Naruto, who had hoped to go unnoticed, flinched in the process of trying to steal a rice ball from Hinata's boxed lunch. Never one to be stopped simply by getting caught, however, he quickly snatched it up and started wolfing it down. "Sorry, Hinata," he apologized between mouthfuls. "This new jutsu is burning me up like crazy." "What jutsu are you working on?" Hinata asked as she nibbled on her own rice ball. Naruto and Sasuke shared a look, contemplating. Then Naruto reached into his kunai pouch and withdrew the scroll containing the details about the jutsu, giving it to his teammate. Hinata grabbed it, opened it, and her eyes widened upon seeing what the jutsu would do if performed. This This is intense, right? Naruto spoke with a grin, snatching Hinata's last rice ball. The sync is off, though. We'll have to work on that for a bit, but if we can perform this thing. Damn. You would be unstoppable. Hinata confirmed, nodding. How? How did you think of this? I had a dream, and I thought it sounded cool. Naruto explained simply, which made both Sasuke and Hinata sweat drop. So, what's this I've heard about our darling Hinata going on a date with one Aburame Shino? Sasuke's eyebrows show up as he gave Hinata a curious look, watching as the Hyuga heir was steadily turning red, ducking her head so that she didn't have to look at them. Oh? I hear she even dash. He never even saw the blow coming from the embarrassed Hyuga. Neither did Sasuke. An hour later, both Tsunade and Jiraiya blinked as Naruto stood in the Hokage's office, sporting a black eye and a busted lip. He was looking embarrassed as hell, and Jiraiya couldn't help but ask. What the hell happened to you, brat? Naruto cleared his throat. I fell down some stairs. Neither believed him, but it was clear that Naruto didn't want to elaborate further. Tsunade decided to get to the point of this meeting. In any case, Jiraiya has requested to take you on another training trip, this time to Myobokuzen. I have approved. You will go to the Toads and learn Senjutsu from them. Naruto blinked. Senjutsu? Really? He asked, an excited grin appearing on his face. When Jiraiya nodded, he threw his hands up with glee. Yeez! I've been waiting for this. His cheering was interrupted by a knock on the door. Sasuke and Hinata reporting. Came Sasuke's voice from the other side. When Tsunade called for them to enter, the door opened to reveal Naruto's two teammates. Sasuke, like Naruto, was also sporting injuries, only his black eye was on the other side, and he had a bruise on the tip of his chin. What the hell? Tsunade asked, sharing a glance with Jiraiya. What happened, Sasuke? I fell down some stairs. Sasuke muttered, and the two Sannin noticed how Hinata was glancing down at the floor in embarrassment. Both of you? On the same day? Tsunade asked, looking from Sasuke to Naruto. Said Blonde coughed into his fist, not having counted on Sasuke giving the same excuse. It was a narrow staircase. Sasuke, always on his level, elaborated. We bumped into each other, and fell at the same time. His body broke my fall, though. His elbow hit my chin. I smacked my eye on his forehead. The impact broke my rib. I think a big dude showed up and punched me, too. Tsunade and Jiraiya shared a look again. With each excuse the two gave, Hinata's head had lowered more and more. It was clear what had happened. She had severely bruised their pride, no doubt with a surprise attack. Though Tsunade was incredibly curious as to what had caused the sweet and kind girl to attack them. Judging by her red face, it was something embarrassing. In any case, while Naruto is off on his training trip, Kakashi has requested to take the two of you on one as well. Tsunade told them, making them all straighten up and give her their full attention. I have authorized Team 7 to be taken off the Nijua Shotai for a total of 45 days, during which time Naruto will be training with the Toads, and Sasuke and Hinata will be training with Kakashi. You leave in 5 days. 5 days? Sasuke repeated, glancing at Naruto. I guess that means we have to cram as much practice as we can into that time slot. Preferably without falling down more stairs. Hinata's head ducked down once more, staring down at the floor and poking her fingers together. Naruto was standing with his arms crossed at Training Grounds 10, his arms crossed. In front of him stood the Jounin Ebisu and his students Konoha Maru, Moegi, and Udan. Naruto had even gone out of his way to formally ask him to bring them here, so Ebisu figured that it had to be something important. What are you here for, Naruto and Ai-chan? Konoha Maru asked, a grin appearing on his face as different scenarios popped up in his head. Are you going to spar with us? Another teamwork exercise? Not at all, Saru, Naruto said, grinning as well. With Ebisu-sensei's permission, I would like to teach all three of you a very personal ninjutsu, since you're all my precious little brats. I will be going on another training trip soon, so now is as good a time as ever. So, Ebisu-sensei? Go ahead, Naruto-kun, Ebisu said, pushing up his sunglasses with a skeptical look on his face. That look was wiped off his face, however, when Naruto held out his hand, showing a round, wilding spinning ball of chakra materializing over his palm. That's... Look closely, kids, Naruto said, grinning at the three gaping students. He took a moment to let them observe the technique for a moment, then slammed it into a nearby tree, blowing away more than half of the tree trunk, making the 3 genin gape in amazement. This is called the Rasengan, a precious A-rank ninjutsu invented by my dad. I'm going to teach it to you 3. Don't be surprised if you can't learn it in a day. It's a tedious process, and you need ample amounts of both chakra and control in order to use it. Amazing, Ni-chan! Konohamaru said, a gleam in his eye that showed he was more than ready to learn the move, while Ebisu cleared his throat. Naruto-kun, these children are only genin. Is it really safe to teach them such a high-rank ninjutsu? I trust these kids to use it responsibly, Naruto replied. After all, they're my precious subordinates who would never go against my orders, right? Naruto looked to the 3 genin, who immediately recognized the dangerous look in his eyes, and they snapped to attention immediately. Right. Well then, let's get started. Naruto took out a scroll from his kunai pouch and unsealed a bag full of balloons filled with water. He picked one up and held it up in front of his kids. Before he did anything, he looked to Ebisu. They've been keeping up with their chakra control, right? All 3 can walk on water with no trouble at all, Ebisu announced with pride. I've made sure to drill the importance of chakra control into their heads from day 1. Nice, Ebisu-sensei, Naruto said, flashing the elite teacher a thumbs up. Now watch closely, my little brats, because this is something truly cool. The trio watched in fascination as the balloons started to wiggle. Then, bumps appeared all over it as the water inside seemed to rage violently, before the balloon exploded. The first step, kids, is rotation. Make sure to pop the balloon, and you'll be ready for the next step, Naruto announced, gesturing for the bag of water balloons. Like I said, don't be discouraged if you don't succeed on the first try. It can be difficult to grasp. That's what I'd expect from my rival, Konohamaru exclaimed with an excited grin on his face, grabbing a balloon. You're making it look so easy! But I'll surpass you! As Naruto gave them his parting words of encouragement and walked away, he found Ebisu following him. He stopped and looked at the teacher, who smiled fondly as he looked back at the 3 children, who were all hard at work trying to pop their balloons. They really do look up to you, Naruto-kun, Ebisu said with a soft chuckle. I will always be their teacher, to be sure, but you will always be their precious big brother. Well, those brats have a special place in my heart, Naruto said, crossing his arms again, a pleasant smile on his face. I'm grateful you took them in. I know you have a reputation as a simple go-to teacher, but I also know you're a very capable jounin. I feel I can trust you to keep them safe. Kakashi-sensei said so it must be true, Kakashi-san said. Ebisu's eyes were obviously wide behind his shades as he gave Naruto a startled look. Said Blonde grinned and gave him a thumbs up. So I'm leaving them in your care, Ebisu-sensei. If any of them manage to pop the balloon, have him or her instruct the other. Once they all got it, give them this. He reached into his pouch and fished out another scroll, handing it over to Ebisu. Tell them that the first step was rotation. The second step is power. Unseal this and have them pop the balls. Not just puncture them. They need to explode. Ebisu took the scroll, though he was understandably confused. Not a surprise, really. Learning how to perform the Rasengan felt very much like a kid's game, after all. Still, he nodded. Good luck with your training, Naruto-kun. Thank you. I'll see you later, Ebisu-sensei. With that, Naruto disappeared with a blur. Myobokuzen truly was a beautiful place. The entire mountain was littered with toad statues and waterfalls. There was a smell in the air that reminded Naruto slightly of some kind of sweet he couldn't quite remember. It wasn't a bad smell, to be sure. And toads were heard from all around him, their own unique kind of song that really only a toad summoner could appreciate for its beauty. Standing next to him, Jiraiya grinned at the odd look on Naruto's face. He patted his godson on the shoulder. Naruto, I want you to meet Fukasaku-sama. Naruto looked, but didn't see anyone, not until he looked down at the ground to see a small toad sitting there, and it looked very strange with bushy eyebrows and a beard on a toad, he had to admit. The toad was standing smiling over a scroll that had summoning seals scrawled on it. Welcome to Myobokuzen, Naruto-chan. The old toad greeted, nodding his head to the blonde. Jiraiya-chan has told us a lot about you. We've been wanting to meet you for a long time. It's an honor to be here, Naruto said, bowing in greeting, something that made Jiraiya's eyes widen in surprise. What the hell, brat? Why aren't you that respectful to me? The look Naruto gave him was all the answer that was needed. It wasn't helped by the fact that Fukasaku was also giving him that look. Well, Naruto-chan, let's go meet Ma, then we'll start your training, Fukasaku said once he looked away from Jiraiya to focus on the Senju heir. Jiraiya-chan says you have a lot of potential for senjutsu training. Apparently, I'm a natural, Naruto said before jetting his thumb over his shoulder to point at Jiraiya. But then again, you have to take anything that old fart says with a grain of salt. Jiraiya bristled, but Fukasaku gave a bark of laughter. You're a funny kid, Naruto-chan. Ma's gonna love you, that's fair sure. So come on then. Bunta-chan has been wanting to see ya as well. Boss is here? Naruto barked excitedly, a grin appearing on his face. Awesome! Don't forget about me. Naruto whipped around, seeing a toad standing taller than him, if only by a few inches, yet there was no mistaking that color or voice, making him grin ever wider. Gamakichi! Both Jiraiya and Fukasaku were surprised when Naruto bolted forward, hugging the large toad happily. You've gotten so big since I last saw you. I need to summon you more often. If the hug wasn't surprising enough, Naruto actually lifted the young toad into the air and spun him around, like a sailor reuniting with his girlfriend after years at sea. See, calm down, Naruto. You're making me feel embarrassed here. Gamakichi barked, huffing. Sides, we don't want to keep Pops or old lady Shima waitin'. There'll be hell to pay if we do. Oh, sorry. Naruto muttered, setting the toad down, but still grinning. But look at you. You'll be your old man's size in a jiffy. You toad sure grow quickly. Then, Pa, Jiraiya said, looking to Fukasaku. I'm leaving Naruto in your care. Right, we'll make sure he learns, Fukasaku said, glancing at Naruto, who was chatting with Gamakichi. Apparently, he told a very good joke, because the larger toad gave a guffaw. He really does remind you of Minato-chan, doesn't he? That he does, Jiraiya said with a fond smile. Suddenly, the ground shook, and it was no surprise why, because a massive toad had just made his appearance, wearing a blue vest with a tanto stuffed into his belt, a large pipe stuck in his mouth. Naruto! The toad barked, making said blonde flinch. Where are your manners, you little brat? You finally show up at my obokuzen, and you decide to greet my son before greeting me? And you call yourself my underling? Boss! Naruto greeted. Though the sudden appearance had startled him, he was still happy to meet his friend. It hadn't been thought possible, but his grin widened as he waved. It's been a long time. We gotta have that drink, don't we? Damn straight we do, we dash. Gamabunta was cut off by Fukasaku, who waved his hand to grab their attention. Sorry to interrupt, Bunta-chan, but I have to introduce Naruto-chan to Ma before he does anything else, or she'll tan our hides. It was amazing to Naruto to see the great Gamabunta flinch. Alright. I'll give y'all a ride over. Jiraiya, get the hell out of my sight. Jiraiya himself flinched at the glare the great toad gave him. Seriously, asked the guy to help him peep once, and suddenly the boss toad starts getting all sniffy. Well, I see Naruto is in good hands, Jiraiya said, forcing a smile back onto his face and putting his hands in a ram's seal. Later. With that, he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Meanwhile, some distance away from Konoha, Kakashi was standing across from Sasuke and Hinata in a forest clearing. He was looking lazy as usual, but his visible eye was sharp. Now then, this isn't exactly a training trip, but... He sighed to himself as he put away his book. From today on, we will fight like our lives depend on it. One-on-one fights and team battles both. Let's get started. Chapter 19. Damn brats. Maybe I'm getting older. He doesn't look too good, Sasuke quipped, standing some distance away from Kakashi, who was leaning against a tree with his back toward his students. His mask was down, and his free hand was clutching at his stomach while he emptied its contents. Sasuke looked to Hinata. Think he went a little overboard? Sorry. Hinata mumbled, poking her fingers together. I honestly thought he would dodge, so. Speaking of which, you have gotten fast, Hinata, Sasuke praised, giving her a thumbs up. Faster than Naruto without his space-time ninjutsu, that's for damn sure. Should I be worried you might take my place as Team 7's speed freak? Thank you for your confidence in me, Sasuke-kun, but I don't think I'll ever reach your level of speed, Hinata said before glancing over at Kakashi in concern. Should we help him? Leave him, Sasuke said simply, waving her off. He knew what he was getting into when he asked for a 2-on-1. The only reason I'd want to go over there now is to see what he looks like under that mask, but circumstances being what they are, it's dash. Sasuke cut himself off as another violent burst of projectile vomit was unleashed from their Jounin teacher. Gross. Sensei! Hinata called to the Cyclops. Do you need any help? I'm fine. Kakashi barked as he gave her a wave over his shoulder. Training's over for the day. You guys can go into town and get something to eat. Should we bring you back something? I'm fine. The two spared him a glance, then moved out of the clearing, heading for the nearby village they were staying in for the night. Sasuke patted Hinata on the shoulder. You're pretty inventive, Hinata. I didn't know Juken could be used to do things like that. It usually isn't, but with my training with Tsunade-sama, I have gotten a good grasp of human anatomy and its functions. Still, making an enemy projectile vomit is a great way to stop them in their tracks. Sasuke said, then glanced back toward the clearing where Kakashi was. For a long time, it seems. How do you think Naruto-kun is doing? Probably training, getting stronger, acting cocky. Sasuke's expression darkened as he listed off what he believed his best friend to be doing. Talking shit, striking poses, insulting me. Damn it, Naruto, shut up already. Hinata blinked at Sasuke's outburst, but then smiled softly. He looked like he was actually hearing Naruto in his head, and talked as though Naruto could hear him. Meanwhile, far, far away, on Myobokuzen, Senju Naruto gave a violent sneeze, then clutched his fist angrily. I really want to punch Sasuke right now. Eh? Fukasaku was sitting in front of the standing ninja, blinking in confusion. They were standing in front of a large stone wall. A toad head carved into the wall was spewing a clear liquid like a waterfall in the fountain underneath it. All around them were giant stone toad statues, all sitting in a meditative position. Never mind, Pa. Naruto said, waving him off. Naruto wasn't much for honorifics, after all, and Fukasaku had been more than happy to have him call the old toad Pa. The old toad Shima, his wife, had been extremely happy to be called Ma. Apparently it made her all nostalgic, like having a little Jiraiya-chan with them again. So, what's this? We'll get to that, Naruto-chan. But first, have the differences between ninjutsu and senjutsu been explained to you yet? Yeah, the old perv told me about it on our training trip. Naruto said with a nod. He explained it as ninjutsu using the chakra you have within yourself, while senjutsu uses the surrounding chakra, the natural chakra from the very nature itself. He says I'm kind of a gray line, considering my Mokuton ninjutsu actually naturally absorbs nature chakra on a microscopic level, so it's a bit of both. Good, good. Fukasaku nodded in approval. But senjutsu is so much more. By taking the nature chakra within yourself, you form a new, stronger chakra. It allows you to perform some incredible feats, to be sure. Your genjutsu, ninjutsu, and taijutsu will be increased tenfolds. The techniques which use the chakra born from the spiritual and physical energies within you, as well as the natural energy surrounding you, are called senjutsu. Can you use it? Naruto asked, glancing over his shoulder at Gamakichi, who had decided to tag along for this training. Kinda. Gamakichi nodded. I'm not good at it, but I can detect it same as any other toad. Kichi-chan isn't at mastery level yet, so I'll show you what nature chakra can do. Fukasaku said, hopping over to one of the stone statues and clapping his hands together. Naruto-chan, you keep your senses sharp, look at what I'm doing. Naruto furrowed his brow in concentration as he watched the old toad, who had clapped his hands together in focus. There was a strange feeling in the air, like Fukasaku had become a vacuum that was sucking something in. Oh. That's amazing, Fukasaku-sama. Gamakichi exclaimed with an excited grin on his face. The nature chakra is gathering quickly. So that's what he's doing. Naruto muttered, rubbing his chin, only for his eyes to widen when the elderly toad slipped his hand under the large statue, which was easily over 5 times Naruto's height, and lifted it up with one hand. WH. Both Naruto and Gamakichi yelled, both clapping excitedly, which caused Fukasaku to give a small, cocky grin, despite straining under the weight. How's this, kiddos? He asked, before setting down the statue again and fully turning to face Naruto. That is the powering nature chakra, boyo. As you are now, you could probably lift this thing with one arm as well, but with nature chakra in your system, you'll be able to lift a statue twice as big. Awesome. Naruto whispered, then looked to Fukasaku. But how can I do that when I couldn't even sense the chakra? You must become one with nature first, Naruto-chan. Fukasaku said, which made Naruto blink. Have you seen my Mokuton, pa? I'm pretty one with nature as it is. What he means, Naruto, is that you have to die, Gamakichi supplied, making Naruto's eyes widen. Gamakichi, don't explain things weirdly, Fukasaku barked, giving Naruto a reassuring look. Don't worry, you won't really die. In order to take in the nature chakra, you need to be as one with nature, something that's part of it. Humans re naturally separate from nature, always rushing about, stomping everywhere. You have to be the opposite in order to feel the energy and draw it into yourself. The opposite? Stillness? Naruto asked, to which Fukasaku nodded. Yes. The first step to master in this volatile energy is to not move. You'll be able to feel nature chakra when you stop your flow as an animal and harmonize with the flow of nature. So not move at all? Naruto asked, getting another nod from the older toad. But even nature moves. Even a tree will sway in a heavy wind. Exactly, Fukasaku barked, pointing at Naruto. But that's not the tree willing itself to move. It bends to the will o' the rest o' nature. You must be like a tree, Naruto-chan. Move with the wind when it urges you to, not when you want. I think I get it, Naruto said, crossing his arms. Absolutely zero movement, become one, and so on. So, how do we get started? It's easier to get started once you've had a first taste of the stuff. That's what this is for. Fukasaku hopped over to the liquid spewing from the toad statue's mouth, making a gesture for it. This is Myobokuzen's secret toad oil, a natural conductor of nature chakra. Come here and give me your hand, boil. Naruto did as ordered. Fukasaku dipped his finger into the oil and dabbed some on the back of Naruto's hand. As soon as it touched his skin, his sensitive sensor skills immediately picked up on the chakra flowing into him. It was an intense energy, to be sure. When Fukasaku had called it volatile, he hadn't been kidding. Getting control of this chakra was... What? Naruto broke out of his thoughts when he noticed how webbing started growing between his fingers, warts appearing on the back of his hand. The hell is this? Those who can't fully control the nature chakra will start turning into toads, Fukasaku said simply. There was the sound of something being summoned somewhere, and then a horrible pain erupted in the back of Naruto's head as a blunt instrument smacked into his skull. Ow! Naruto yelped, whipping around to glare at the elderly toad, who was holding a black club in his hand. That hurt, you old fart! You should be helping me, not killing me! Naruto! Gamakichi spoke up. Look at your hand. Huh! Naruto looked down and sure enough, his hand was back to normal. How the hell? You need a perfect balance of all three energies, Naruto-chan, Fukasaku said. It's incredibly difficult to keep everything balanced once you've introduced nature chakra to the mix. If there's too little, you can't use it. If there's too much, you'll turn into a toad. And that's permanent. Look around ya. Fukasaku made a wide, sweeping gesture for the many, many statues around them. Those statues are the remains of those who failed in the past, Fukasaku explained, then grinned. But don't worry, I'm here. If you start turning into a toad, I'll use this staff o' mine to knock the nature chakra right out of ya. But to tell you the truth, not even Jiraiya-chan has got this technique down pat. He turns a bit into a toad when he uses it, but he's still able to do it. Are you, Boyle? Naruto looked around at the statues for a moment, then grinned at Fukasaku, cracking his knuckles in excitement. Anything the old perv can do once, I can do 9 times, so, I was thinking about something. Sasuke had been in the middle of sipping his tea, and paused when Hinata spoke up. They were sitting in a rather cozy little restaurant, snacking on dango and sipping tea while enjoying the warm summer sun. Something? Sasuke asked curiously, raising an eyebrow as he set his teacup down. What about? Do you think me strange? Hinata asked shyly. I know Shino-kun isn't considered, you know. I know word is that Abirame are strange and kind of freaky. Sasuke interrupted, a small smirk appearing on his face. But then, they say Uchiha would be too arrogant to make friends outside the clan, and that Naruto is a dumb loudmouth who... Well, he is a loudmouth, but he's certainly not stupid, in most aspects. Hinata nodded in acceptance to this statement. Stereotypes were sometimes right, but they were almost always ridiculously exaggerated. So you like him? Sasuke asked, snacking on his dango. Hinata ducked her head behind her teacup, which she was holding in both hands, and nodded shyly, which made the Uchiha smirk. That's good. From what I've heard, Shino may be a bit quiet and stoic, but he's an honorable man. Hinata nodded gratefully at that. She made to speak again, but before she could, a rather large, gruff-looking man had made his way over to them, glaring as though they were the most disgusting thing he'd ever seen. Konoha ninjas, huh? The man asked. Sasuke calmly sipped his tea once before looking up at him. What about it? I don't like Konoha ninjas, the man answered as he crossed his arms. Immediately, he was flanked by 5 other men, none of them wearing peaceful looks on their faces. Sasuke could easily sense their intentions, so he sighed, setting down his teacup. He looked to Hinata, who clearly knew what was about to happen. It's at times like this that I wish Naruto was here. Before Naruto could sneeze, he was once more smacked in the back of the head by Fukasaku, who looked like he was getting a bit tired. Seriously, grasping this natural energy was harder than Naruto had thought. It was easy enough to infuse it in his wood, but bringing it into his body was a whole other matter. Shit! Naruto barked, rubbing his head, the angry bump being unrelenting and causing him quite a bit of pain. Pa, isn't there a less painful method to get the nature chakra out of me? Afraid not, Naruto-chan. The old toad apologized, shaking his head. But look at ya! Yuri making incredible progress. You can already sense nature chakra like a pro, and your body is starting to still itself. There's gotta be some better way though. Naruto muttered as he crossed his arms. I don't want to have to rely on some unique oil in order to gather it. Of course, this just fair the beginning. Fukasaku said, a grin on his face. Now the trainin' wheels come off. Time to learn how to stay still or get hurt. This is going to be painful for me, isn't it? Yup. 5 minutes later found Naruto and Fukasaku standing in front of a large gathering of stalagmites, reaching high into the sky, even taller than the stone statues at the oil well. At the base of the stalagmites was a large pile of stone plates. Fukasaku grabbed one and jumped up. Follow me, Naruto-chan. That was how Naruto found himself sitting in a meditative position on one of the stone plates, balanced precariously on the very tip of one of the stalagmites. It had looked easy enough. Fukasaku was sitting perfectly comfortably on the plate, while Naruto had to constantly adjust to counterbalance. You need to stop your flow as an animal, Naruto-chan. Fukasaku lectured, shaking his head at his blonde student. Find your balance and become utterly still, at one with nature. Easier said than done. Naruto barked back, glaring at the old toad. I bet it took you longer than me to even get up here the first time. That's neither here nor there, Fukasaku argued, glancing away with a somewhat uncomfortable look on his face. Look, Naruto-chan, only once you stop moving will you be able to absorb natural energy. Just keep at it, boyo. Jiraiya-chan has faith in ya, and so do I. Back with the rest of Team 7, Kakashi appeared at the dango shop, and his eye widened in shock at what he was seeing. The entire shop was in ruins, fires burning here and there. Several men were strewn around the rubble, all of them unconscious, and sitting on a piece of rubble were Sasuke and Hinata. Somehow, it seemed Sasuke had managed to preserve his cup of tea, as he was sipping it slowly with a sort of amazed look on his face. Boy, that escalated quickly, Sasuke noted, blinking slightly to himself. He took a look around at the destruction as though he couldn't quite believe what they had done. I mean, that got really out of hand fast. What the hell did you do? Kakashi barked in shock, catching the attention of his 2 students. Sasuke reached up and scratched the back of his head. I'm not really sure. It started with some insults toward Konoha. Hinata and I were teaching the guys a lesson, then some IWA ninja joined in, and things escalated. I can see that, Kakashi barked, still in a state of shock. How long did he leave them alone? Half an hour? Maybe 45 minutes? And this happened? Tsunade was going to tan his hide for this, that was for damn sure. You. I can't. How? In our defense, the IWA ninja were responsible for at least half of this, Sasuke said, making a gesture for the damaged shop. But they took off. I admit, this felt more like something Naruto-kun would do, Hinata confessed, sending worried glances at the owner of the shop, who was crying his eyes out at the destruction in front of him. Kakashi quickly made his way over to the man and bowed his head, scratching the back of it sheepishly with an awkward smile on his face. I'm so sorry for the actions of my students. If you send word to Konoha, you'll be compensated for the destruction. No, but seriously, Sasuke muttered to Hinata, taking another sip of his tea, which was now cold. That really escalated. How did that ever happen? I think it was when that IWA ninja insulted your hair. Hinata mumbled, rubbing her chin. Or maybe when the porcelain cat got broken. I really like that cat. I know. But you didn't have to try to set the man on fire for it. Well, things had already gotten out of hand when you broke the counter with that man's skull. I was only trying to knock him down. Hinata protested. I wasn't trying to break anything. Except all of his internal organs. Naruto has really rubbed off on you when it comes to responding to insults. Sasuke quipped. I'm sort of afraid of teasing you now. Making that other guy literally crap his pants was a nice touch, too. Shame about the smell, though. I wouldn't have had to if you hadn't broken his friend's pelvis. Kakashi, who had returned from placating the shop owner, heard the conversation between his two students. He stood behind them, blinking in confusion. From what I've heard, I really want to know how this started and what happened after, but at the same time, I kinda don't. He thought, a sweat drop rolling down his temple. I think things went really crazy when that one guy started stripping. Okay, I really don't want to know, Kakashi thought, before approaching the two. Right, we'll be doing the rest of our training in Konoha. Clearly, you two can't be trusted to behave outside the village walls. Fukasaku sat on the stone plate, watching as his blonde-haired student sat completely still, steadily gathering nature chakra. A smile was on his face. Naruto-chan is progressing faster and Jiraiya-chan did. He's even learning to gather the chakra faster in him. He's almost at my speed already. His eyes widened when he saw markings appear on his face. The top whisker marks on Naruto's cheeks thickened and grew red, lengthening slightly, and another stripe appeared on his chin, almost going all the way up to his lower lip. Fukasaku couldn't help but realize how similar the markings looked to those on the Nidaime Hokage's face. Now ain't this a treat? That's a sign of Sage Mode. And he's not transforming in the slightest. While Fukasaku was admiring Naruto's Sage Mode, the blonde himself was standing inside his mind, and Kurama could be heard chuckling behind him. Now isn't that special? The old fox grumbled, and Naruto glanced over his shoulder to see him grinning. Those markings sure make you look like the Nidaime Hokage. Funny. Here I thought your Sage Mode would look more like your great-great-grandfather. Now isn't that special? Naruto repeated, a small grin appearing on his own face. You're actually talking to me of your own volition, and you're not even flinging insults at me. Miracles do happen, don't they, Kurama? TCH, it's too early for our usual banter. I must admit, though, I'm impressed you grasped the nature chakra so quickly. From what I learned from Mito, it took the Shodai Hokage 3 years to learn how to harness it. But then again, he didn't have a wart-covered old toad to teach him the secret. I won't have you insulting Pa Kurama, Naruto said simply. Now how about you play ball for once and act nice? No one's this pissed 24 hours a day. What other source of amusement do I have? Kurama asked with a shrug, laying down. It's either sleep, look over some of your old memories, or bantering with you. In case you didn't notice, I can't exactly up and leave. I wish you could, that I do, Naruto admitted. Kurama pried open an eye to glance at the blonde, only to see that he was being completely serious. But I'm not intending to die anytime soon, so I can't let you out yet. Maybe on my deathbed. What's with you today? Kurama asked, raising the fur where his eyebrow would have been if he were human. You're unusually serious. It's this Sage Mode, Naruto said, spreading his arms out with a smile. I feel completely at one with nature. My senses have peaked, too. That's why I know you're not really pissed. What? Kurama growled. Naruto smiled as he stepped into the cage, once more showing how foolishly brave he was. He put a hand on Kurama's snout and grinned up at the large, menacing eye glaring down at him. I can sense your emotions pretty well by now. You're a pretty nice guy, aren't you, Kurama? The old fox gritted his teeth when he saw the blonde's grin. He didn't answer, however. Instead, he changed the subject. I hope you're not planning to use Sage Mode in battle, kid. This made Naruto drop his grin as he gave Kurama a confused stare. Huh! How many chances do you have in battle to sit down and gather the chakra you need to enter it? Kurama asked, glaring down at him. I'm not gonna die because you needed to take a seat for a moment. Naruto hummed and rubbed his chin, stepping back to lean against the bars of the cage. But then you can send me chakra, right? Eh? Naruto grinned widely. Look, if I'm out there in the middle of a battle, and you're in here, you can gather the nature chakra while I'm out and moving. Idiot! Kurama barked. How the hell do you think I'm gonna be able to gather that crap? My chakra is completely incompatible. Well, Naruto muttered, scratching the back of his head. Have you tried? Kurama twitched. He hesitated for a moment, then glanced away, scoffing. Yes. What? I said yes, you brat! Kurama roared suddenly, sounding incredibly embarrassed. I thought it'd help me break out of Mito's seal, so I tried it. It didn't work. End of story. Naruto noticed how embarrassed the fox looked, a shrewd grin appearing on his face. You didn't turn into a toad, did you? TCH. Damn near turned into a goddamn tree. Kurama muttered, scoffing. My chakra is too volatile to mix with pure nature chakra. Maybe they can mix in your body, but not in mine. Your chakra and nature chakra. Naruto mused, humming as he rubbed his chin. That might be something worth looking into. Kurama rested his head against his paws again as the two lapsed into silence. Then, after a moment, the fox looked to Naruto again. So? Are you going to be ready when that pain guy shows up again? He'll definitely have a plan this time. Naruto sighed at that, scratching his head once more. I don't know. There are too many unknowns, yeah? I mean, will he attack when I'm on a mission? Will he attack in the village? Will he wait for me to come to him so he can set up an ambush? Variables everywhere. At least you're thinking about it, not just going gung-ho. Kurama commented. Well, if he ever shows up, I'll let you borrow my chakra if you need it. I'll be damned before I let myself get captured by the Akatsuki. At least in you my thoughts are my own, and I'm not a goddamn weapon. He perked up. In the meantime, the old toad is talking to you. Oh, I forgot where I was for a moment. Naruto exclaimed, snapping his fingers. Right, I'll talk to you later, Kurama. With that, the blonde vanished from the mindscape. Kurama sighed heavily and rolled over on his back, gazing up at the ceiling. I have more freedom in the brat's body, but what I wouldn't do for a magazine or something. 5 minutes later found Naruto sitting in Fukasaku and Shima's hut. Shima had left to go buy groceries. Bugs were apparently a delicacy among the toads, so it was just Fukasaku and Naruto sitting at the dinner table. Thankfully, they had proper tea that Naruto could drink without throwing up. Now that you've mastered Sage Mode, there's one thing you need to know, Naruto-chan, Fukasaku said, snacking on a larva of some kind. Sage Mode is very risky. Risky? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. You mean the fact that I can't move when I gather the chakra? Yep. If you can't move, you're a sit and duck in battle. Use Sage Mode fare too long, the chakra drains from you, and you're reverted to your normal self. Sage Mode only works proper if you've got allies who can give you time to gather the nature chakra. But that's what I'm here for. If we fuse our bodies, it'll be okay. Fuse? Yep. Spine to shoulder. Jiraiya-chan needs both Ma and myself when he enters Sage Mode. While you move, I'll be still and gather the chakra fair, yeah. So, that's the next step of our training. Fusion. Alright. Naruto barked, shooting to his feet in excitement, only to hit his head on the ceiling. Damn it! You alright there, Naruto-chan? I'm fine. Naruto muttered as he rubbed the sore spot on his head. Anyway, let's do this. Tsunade was sitting in her office, the back of her chair facing the door as she stared at the picture in her hands. That blonde boy of 12, at that time clutching the collar of his teammate, the Uchiha doing the same. They looked like they were yelling at each other, both enraged. In the background one could see Kakashi and Hinata watching the scene, Kakashi looking bored, like he had seen it many times before, while Hinata was looking worried. Dan! Tsunade spoke to herself, a small smile appearing on her face. Our grandson sure became something great. Tsunade loved her grandson, Senju Naruto. He was annoying, a loud-mouthed idiot, but he was still a man both she and her late lover could have been proud of. Subconsciously, Tsunade reached up to grab the jewel hanging from her necklace, only to remember that she had given it to Naruto. She really didn't want to experience another loss. Dan and Iwaki had been enough. She believed in Naruto, yet she couldn't forget the necklace's curse. Tsunade-sama? The buxom blonde Hokage shook herself from her thoughts and turned around to see Shizen standing in front of her desk, an exasperated look on her face. Kakashi-san and his team are back. So soon? Apparently there were complications. Tsunade nodded, and Kakashi entered. He was alone, and he had a somewhat ashamed look on his face. Hokage-sama, he greeted, standing at attention in front of her desk, and Tsunade couldn't help but sigh. How much? She asked tiredly, and Kakashi held out a slip of paper, which Tsunade grabbed and read over. Immediately, her eyes widened. What? What did they do? Apparently, Hokage-sama, they ended up in an argument with some IWA ninja, and, apparently a porcelain cat was destroyed, and someone took off his clothes. Tsunade heaved a great sigh, rubbing her temples. Just another day in the life of Team Kakashi. She was almost too scared to think of the property damage that would have occurred if the always eager to fight Naruto had been with them. The repair costs probably wouldn't have fit into the village's budget. Achoo! On Myobokuzan, Naruto sneezed, completely losing his concentration and accidentally cutting off his fusion with Fukasaku, sending the old toad flying off his shoulder. Naruto-chan! Fukasaku barked as he impacted with the ground. What are you doing, boy? This ain't a time to be sneezing. Ino heaved a great sigh as she leaned against one of the stumps on Team Kakashi's official training ground. Sakura and Hinata were both there, sparring, but they paused in favor of giving the blonde girl a curious look. What's wrong? Hinata asked, and Ino waved her off somewhat half-heartedly. I miss my blonde idiot is all, she muttered. Damn that man, bringing me on a dangerous mission against Akatsuki, and then he goes off to train with the toads without even taking me on a proper date first? Just a damn bowl of ramen. Well, you weren't exactly forced to go, were you? Sakura teased, having heard of the mission from Ino herself as soon as the blonde had left the Hokage Tower. In fact, from the way I heard it, you insisted on going with him on dash shut up forehead. Ino barked, her face suddenly flushing a furious red. I just did what my instincts as a Konoha shinobi told me to do. Hinata, meanwhile, just interlaced her fingers in front of her and smiled that gentle smile of hers that made both of the other kunoichi feel warm inside. Naruto-kun certainly inspires you, doesn't he? She spoke, starking up at the clouds. Ino groaned as she slumped over the stump. The blush remained on her face, despite the serious look on her face. He certainly does inspire, she muttered. One moment we're having a bowl of ramen, and the other. Ino trailed off as the blush on her face deepened, and she wrapped her arms around herself. Sakura and Hinata stared at her in disbelief. You didn't, Sakura whispered, also blushing at the images that popped up in her head. From the look on Hinata's face, she was no different. Not yet, Ino said, waving them off. But even with what little we have done, the things he can do with his hands. Ino gave off a very loud squeal and fell to the ground, starting to roll around in the grass. I want my blonde idiot back. Someone's lovesick, Sakura muttered, watching the girl. Hinata nodded before clearing her throat and getting into position to resume their spar. At this point, Ino pining over Naruto was kind of an everyday thing. Outside Konoha, on top of a tree, Pain was staring at the walls of the village, a dispassionate look in his eyes. Pain! Came the voice of Konan, who was hovering behind him with her paper wings. Are you sure you want to risk this? It would be easier to simply attack the Senju boy while on the way to a mission, but even I am afraid of his more devastating jutsu. Pain spoke, humming to himself. Attacking him in a place like this will force him to limit himself. Our intel states that the boy isn't in the village, Konan muttered. He will come, Pain insisted. If the same intel is to be trusted, then he will come as soon as word reaches him that the village is in danger. A hint of a smirk appeared on the Akatsuki leader's face. The boy is predictable like that. A silence passed between the two as they just stared at the walls, and then Pain's gaze moved up to the Hokage monument, proudly displaying the faces of the current Hokage and her predecessors. His eyes narrowed, a small hint of ancient bitterness entering his head as he saw Tsunade's face on the cliff. The time of hidden villages is over, he whispered to himself. Chapter 20. Pain was looking over his other bodies. The Azura path had been replaced with another, this one larger and more muscular, with his hair and a mohawk. He still had the unnerving smile on his face, however. It wasn't visible, but under their Akatsuki cloaks, the Naraka and Preta paths had several rods pierced through their body, same texture and color as their piercings, holding their bodies together after the disaster that was their encounter with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Now we're going to split up. Pain spoke, for Konan's sake, to reveal his plan. One group will cause a diversion, and the other will do reconnaissance. Let's make sure we've got it sorted. He looked over his bodies, if only to make sure they were all sturdy enough to endure another encounter with Senju Naruto. Diversionary tactics are up to the Asura, animal, and Petapath's recon is up to the Deva, human, and Narakapath's Konin, you're on the recon team as well. I know. The blue-haired woman spoke, nodding. Pain frowned to himself, or at least his lips twitched downward by the tiniest of smidges, as he looked toward the village, activating his Rinnegan and seeing the chakra dome covering the village of Konoha. There's a spherical barrier protecting Konoha from all sides, including from above. Any intruders will be sensed immediately. Conan muttered. As planned, we're going to launch Animal Path above the villages, Pain said. That way, they'll miscalculate our numbers and it will throw them off. Then we'll wait for Animal Path's summons. Kisame apparently got in without a problem. Conan spoke up, which caused Pain to release a minuscule scoff. His partner, Itachi, was with Konoha's ANBU. He knew how to get through the barrier without setting it off. I have my own way of doing things. The Animal Path stepped onto the Asura Path's waiting hands, bracing itself and allowing itself to be launched high into the air. It flew through the barrier right around the center of the village, where it performed a kuchios, summoning the other 5 paths to itself. Scatter! The Deva Path ordered immediately, and they all obeyed. Meanwhile, Sasuke was sitting with Hinata in a nearby tea house. They had just finished eating some sweets, which Sasuke would never admit were the most delicious he'd ever eaten, and were sitting peacefully drinking their tea, when the sounds of explosions rocked the village. Neither of the two even had to share a look before they took off, gone before their teacups had even hit the floor. They blurred into view on top of a taller building, to see several houses in the distance go up in flames. Sasuke grabbed the hilt of his sword and looked to the Hyuga standing next to him. Let's go! In the torture and interrogation building, Conan stood amidst several bodies, staring into a cell. The prisoner had been tied up from head to toe, only his violet eyes visible through the bandage-like bindings. The bindings were covered with seals intended to make them unbreakable and no doubt make the prisoner completely incapable of movement. Conan stepped into the cell, an ANBU sword in hand, and stabbed it into the ground between the legs of the prisoner, who was sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. Haiden! She spoke, staring down at the prisoner with a cold look, and the prisoner finally looked up to focus on her. A muffled grunt heard from within the restraints. It's time to go to work. MHMHMHM was heard from within the gag, the shoulders of the prisoner shaking as he leaned his head down to stare at the sword in front of him. When he looked up into her eyes again, Conan could tell just from the mad glint in his eyes that he cackling in his head. Naruto perked up, blinking in confusion. His fusion with Pa broke, and the toad was sent flying off his shoulder. What the hell, Naruchan? The old toad barked, rubbing his head in confusion. Even the damned fox agreed to the fusion fair once. Sorry, Pa! Naruto barked, still looking up at the sky. I've been getting this really bad feeling for a while now. You moron! Came Kurama's voice. You should know not to ignore those feelings by now. What bad feeling? Pa asked, hopping over, raising his impressively bushy eyebrow. I feel. Naruto muttered, taking his chin in his hand and staring down at the ground. I don't know. It's like the dirt on the ground of Konoha is being disturbed. He really is like the Shodai Hokage. Fukasaku thought to himself, his eyes wide in amazement. Naruto-chan, we should send a messenger to Konoha. Something might be going on. Right. Sasuke panted in annoyance as he watched the annoying, black-cloaked people in front of him. Even a single glance at them would let anyone know that these guys were the, as Naruto had referred them, the pains in the ass. A grin slowly made its way onto the Uchiha's face as he thought of the term the Senju had used. He couldn't help it, honestly. Is something so funny that you can laugh in this situation? The spiky-haired man asked as he watched Sasuke, who ignored him and instead glanced at Hinata. How are you holding up? I can go on. Hinata muttered, watching the three with an unusually serious look in her eyes. I just need to catch my breath. Look! Sasuke spoke up, addressing the supposed leader of the Akatsuki for the first time since their encounter. Why are you here? What's your objective? I am here for the Kyuubi, the man said simply. Give it to me, and I will leave. Well, you're out of luck, Sasuke muttered with a grin. Seriously, Naruto and Jiraiya had taken these guys on themselves? Naruto isn't here. He's away training. Like I would believe that. It's the truth. Hinata yelled, her eyes wide. If Naruto-kun was here, he would charge headfirst into battle. Naruto-kun? The spiky-haired one muttered, glancing at the pale-eyed Hyuga. Then, before Sasuke could even react, even though his Sharingan saw everything, the man was already behind Hinata, and his hand chopped her in the back of her neck, knocking her unconscious. You bastard! Sasuke growled, getting into a ready stance. Just as he was about to pounce, the man picked Hinata up like a sack of potatoes, holding up a placating hand to the Uchiha. I shall be waiting in the very center of this village, he told Sasuke with that annoyingly calm look on his face. Go to your Hokage. Tell her to call back the Kyuubi. Tell her to order him to face me. If any other shinobi tries to attack, I shall kill this girl. You have 20 minutes. Immediately, all the explosions around the village stopped, and the man blurred away as Sasuke reached for him. There was a moment of silence as Sasuke fell to his knees. Hinata, he muttered, clenching his fists. I'm not strong enough. His still activated Sharingan eyes were aching as he turned to look toward the Hokage tower. He needed to call on Naruto. And he wasn't even sure if Naruto could beat this guy himself, so. Not even 10 seconds later, Sasuke landed on the roof of the Hokage tower, where Tsunade was on her knees with her hands in a ram's seal. From the slug on her shoulder, Sasuke could only guess that she had summoned Katsuyu and ordered her to split to heal the populace. Sasuke hadn't seen her summon the slug though, as he had been too focused on the man who kept blowing him back. Tsunade-sama! Sasuke barked as he made his way through her ANBU guards. She opened her eyes to look at him, breaking her concentration from distributing chakra for a moment. Call back Naruto! We have 20 minutes of calm. If Naruto doesn't arrive, Hinata dies! What? Tsunade muttered in surprise. The leader Pain, the main one! Sasuke yelled. He blew away all my attacks. He knocked out Hinata and said we have 20 minutes to call Naruto here. Sasuke grimaced, rubbing his eyes, which were itching something awful. Tsunade was staring at him with an expression that clearly told him that she didn't know what to do. He didn't blame her. For all they know, Pain could have been bluffing, but he did call off his attack on the village, so. Another explosion was heard, and a cloud of dust rose from a distant corner of the village. All the shinobi on the roof of the Hokage tower snapped their gazes toward it. Sasuke! Tsunade barked, rising to her feet and giving Sasuke her most serious glare. Take care of that disturbance. I will be calling Naruto. I'll be calling Naruto back. Sasuke couldn't be sure, but it kinda felt like Tsunade said something cute just then. But he had his duty to the village, so he just nodded and obeyed his orders, jumping off. Little brat. Tsunade muttered to herself as she turned to the ANBU surrounding her. Hurry! We need to get to the summoning scroll. As they made to dash off, they were surprised when a toad landed on them, a black toad with goggles, carrying a scroll on its back. Talk about timing, eh? The toad barked with a laugh and a grin. How long are you going to play unconscious? Pain was standing in the center of Konoha, staring down at the girl laying on the ground, his eyes narrowed ever so slightly. It was enough to show a glare. His paths and Konan were with him, having stopped their assault on the village to join the Deva path. The rumbles in the distance had nothing to do with him. He had told Konan to give Haiden the order to go wild, and it seemed that he had. It mattered little to Pain. His only objective was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and nothing else. In response to his query, the Hyuga girl shot up, and Pain's eyes could see the chakra around her hands, looking almost like the heads of lions. That amount of chakra slammed into his body with such force that could kill even this body, the one he would never want to give up. With a glance, a force knocked the girl to the ground, leaving a crater where she was slammed down. I want you to know, I have no personal grudge against you, Pain said softly as Konan stood next to him, both staring down at the downed Hyuga. This is simply what must be done to establish peace. Peace? The girl coughed, spitting up blood from the blow she just took. Killing people establishes peace? People can only want peace once they've felt true pain. Pain spoke simply, watching as the girl rose to her feet. Stay down. This can only end one way. A man like you? Hyuga Hinata muttered, taking a stance, and Pain was surprised to see so much determination in her eyes. You will never know peace with that mindset. Why do you struggle so? Pain asked as she charged at him, and another use of his Shinra Tensei, Almighty Push, knocked her back and into the ground again. Do you not see, girl? With this overwhelming power of mine, no one will wish to oppose me. The hidden villages will come together and make peace simply because they do not want to earn my ire. Kuma will stop chasing bloodlines, IWA will stop hunting the son of the Yellow Flash, Kiri will stop their pointless war against bloodline users, and Suna will have their missions again. There will be peace. That's not peace. The Hyuga muttered as she got to her feet again. You're just a greedy wannabe ruler, same as all the others. You claim to have good intentions, but you hurt more than you help. Careful, girl. Pain hissed, his eyes narrowing. I kept you alive to lure out the Kyuubi. He will come to me even if it's just to collect your dead body. You're just proving my point, Hinata said, taking the Juken stance again. Naruto-kun will kill you. I know all I can do is weaken you, but I will, if it means helping a man with a better goal than yours. Pain's eyes narrowed again. You believe in him. I do. Why? Why? Hinata repeated. Naruto-kun is loud, rude, and offensive, but he has a good heart. He doesn't like killing. He wants people to get along. And he has a charm to him that draws people to him, regardless of his flaws. The Kyuubi is a violent idiot who speaks only with his fists. That's what everyone who doesn't know him says, Hinata said, and her voice was actually a growl now. And as his teammate and his friend, I will not let anyone speak ill of him. Pain's eyes widened when the Azura Path caught something out of the corner of their eyes. He had only enough time to watch the Hinata in front of him disappear before another of her burst from the ground behind him, making to jab her fingers into his back. His Shinra Tensei blasted her away, naturally, but he certainly didn't expect this one to explode into smoke as well, only for a second Hinata to come out of the same hole, following soon after. D-damn dash! Pain was cut off as two palms slammed into his back, shutting off his chakra supply to his legs. Naruto-kun is also good at using clones, and he shared his secrets. Hinata yelled as she dropped into a stance, her knees bent, one arm raised upward, and the other one in front of her bent downward, her palm by her knee. And you are within my realm of divination. You all are. Looking over his shoulder, Pain could see her Byakugan blazing with intensity. Before he could react, he could feel the chakra scalpels digging into his body. 2 strikes. Next, the Preta and Azura paths flinched. 4 strikes. The girl moved like flowing water, dividing strikes between the 6 paths and Konan. While the paths felt no pain, only loss of chakra, Konan felt everything. 8 strikes. 16 strikes. 32 strikes. 64 strikes. 128 strikes. Jukenhu, Hayakuna Jahachi Senpu no Mezu, Heavenly Fist Art, 128 whirlwind scalpels. The 6 paths and Konan flew away from the petite Hyuga, landing on the ground with a thud. Konan was gasping, grasping at her chest and trying to catch her breath. The Azura path was in pieces, and all the other paths were unmoving. This girl is more skilled than she made out to be. The Deva path muttered to himself as his controller flooded his body with chakra to make him be able to move through the ordeal. He rose to his feet along with the other 4 surviving paths, and now his eyes were even colder than before, especially when he glanced at the prone Konan. New order. Eliminate the Hyuga girl. The 5 of them charged, only to be stopped by an explosion of smoke in front of them. Sasuke landed in the streets of Konoha, and was disgusted to see several people in the street, their bodies slashed open by what must have been a terrifying weapon. His danger sense, finally honed after years of Naruto trying to sneak attack him, screamed at him, and he jumped to the side just in time to see a giant frying pan slam into the ground where he had just been. The pan had been cut in half, though still 2 feet wide, and its edge sharpened. Landing by the pan was none other than Haiden, who was wearing nothing but his pants. In any other circumstance, and if he was single, Sasuke would have hit on him, but this was an enemy. Yo, it's been a while, Uchiha brat! Haiden barked with a grin. It seems you managed to get away from Kakuzu. That fucking bragging piece of shit. No bounty gets away from me, he said. Che. Guess I'll have to do his job for him. Don't worry, I'll let you live long enough for him to get his bounty for your eyes, but then you'll be a sacrifice for Jashin-sama. Heh! Sasuke scoffed with a small smirk on his face. Your info is outdated. Kakuzu is already dead. Naruto turned him into ground beef. Though calling him that is an insult to cows. Haiden blinked and picked up the pan, leaning it over his shoulder, his brow furrowed. Kakuzu's dead? He asked in surprise, shock evident on his face. That's right. Sasuke said with a nervous grin, reaching back to grip the hilt of his sword. What, are you suddenly nervous? Nervous? Hayden barked, and Sasuke watched as he threw his head back and bellowed a laugh. He snapped his head forward and gave a bloodthirsty grin that made Sasuke feel a shiver go down his spine. Why would I be nervous? The boss told me to go wild, and the annoying Kakuzu isn't here to restrain me. This is the greatest day of my life. Especially when I have the offering I missed out on right in front of me. Suddenly, Hayden's chest burst open as a lightning-covered hand pierced it. Hayden glanced down at it, and then over his shoulder at the Jounin-uniformed man who had just hurt him, the Sharingan in his left eye spinning. Sorry, I guess you'll have to deal with me as well, Hatake Kakashi said, not sounding apologetic in the slightest. That actually hurt, you strange-eyed freak. Hayden muttered as he glared at Kakashi, but then he grinned and raised the frying pan with the 3-foot shaft. Well then, I'll sacrifice you first, and make the Uchiha the dessert. The pan came swinging down, but was stopped by Sasuke's sword. The Uchiha had taken this time to cross the distance between them. Kakashi, don't let him cut you! Right, Kakashi said, grabbing the man and throwing him into a building, making the wall crumble on top of him. Where's Hinata? Pain's got her, Sasuke admitted with a sour frown, rubbing his eyes again. We've got a few minutes before he attacks again. He's holding Hinata hostage until Naruto gets here. The big-tit woman is going to summon him. She ordered me to take care of this disturbance in the meantime. I'm worried about the girl, Kakashi muttered as he got into a stance, watching as Hayden pushed the rubble off him. But I suppose orders are orders. Will Naruto make it in time? I sure hope so. Then we have a job to do here, Kakashi said, tensing up. I'll get in close. I'll play with clones and confuse him. You take him at a distance. Don't let him cut you. I won't. With a smile, Kakashi dashed off. Sasuke didn't attack at once. Instead, he was analyzing the situation. Hayden was swinging his sharpened pan wildly, but he had no finesse with it. It must have had a different weight and balance than his scythe, so it should be easier to take him down this time, compared to last time. Sasuke! The Uchiha blinked when he saw Kakashi grab Hayden from behind, holding on to him tightly. Hey, Cyclops, if you want to fuck me, take me to dinner first. Hayden barked as he struggled in Kakashi's grip. Sasuke recognized the look in his teacher's eyes and flashed through hand seals, his itchy Sharingan spinning wildly. Katon, Gakaki no Jutsu! A great ball of flame spewed from his mouth, heading straight for Hayden and Kakashi. The former grinned and looked to the man holding him. Hey, at this rate, I'm the only one who's gonna serve dash. Hayden cut himself off, his eyes widening upon seeing the grin sported behind that mask. I know enough about you to not personally approach you. Hayden looked down to see the hands holding him sparking with electricity. A right unbu dash? Right un, Jigaku no Hari Bunshin no Jutsu, lightning element, Hell's acupuncture clone technique. Kakashi called out as the fireball struck them both, but the Jounin burst into a flash of electricity, all of which shot into Hayden, who screamed in pain from both the lightning and the electric shock. Phew! Came a voice beside Sasuke as the real Kakashi landed beside him. What if I just wanted you to cut his head off? What would you have done if that was the real me? We've both hanged around Naruto long enough to play around with clones, and you're not stupid enough to risk getting turned into a voodoo doll. Sasuke said simply, sheathing the sword he had stabbed into the ground as he went through his hand seals. True enough. Kakashi chuckled. F fuckers. Hayden growled as he lay on the ground, completely naked due to his pants getting burned off. Kakashi's technique had completely paralyzed him. I swear, when I get out of this. Kakashi didn't let him speak anymore. Suddenly, he landed beside Hayden, and 5 iron rods had pierced him, one in each limb, and the last through his neck. Oh. Mother dash. That's enough of you. Kakashi chided and stomped on the man's jaw, getting a muted "Go kill ya" in response, before looking to Sasuke with a smile. Now let's dash. They were interrupted as a plume of smoke came from the center of the village, where Pain had reported to wait. Let's help our teammate, who's very late, Sasuke muttered before jumping off. Well now. Hinata was staring at the back of the man she had so long admired, who was holding 2 of the Pains by their necks, the 2 who had just been the closest to attacking her. The blonde, Senju Naruto, looked around, and saw that the Pains were on guard, while one Pain was on the ground, his cloak slack as pieces of his body had been strewn about, and a blue-haired woman was desperately clutching at her chest. "You've really done well, Hinata," Naruto barked, glancing over his shoulder at her. Now that she saw his face, she realized that it was different from usual. His top whisker marks were thicker and colored red, and he had another line going down his chin, just like the marks she had seen carved into the head of the Nidaime on the Hokage monument. And Naruto-QB. Pain interrupted her, taking Naruto's attention away from her to focus on him. "You escaped me once, but you will come with me now." "Wow, I must have hit you harder than I thought." "You retreated, remember?" Naruto asked with his usual happy-go-lucky grin, which made Pain narrow his eyes. "It was a temporary retreat due to an unexpected setback." Naruto grinned and reached up to his face. Then he pulled down his left eyelid and stuck his tongue out. "You bolted because you were scared," he taunted. Pain showed no change in expression, but one could feel his annoyance. Naruto grinned again. "Well, I don't really care," the blonde said with a shrug as his grin turned into a smirk. "I was really just trying to distract you until the rest of my team got here." Pain's eyes widened when, with a thump, Sasuke and Kakashi landed by Naruto and Hinata. "You could have let me know you fake being unconscious," Sasuke muttered as he looked to the destroyed Pain and the prone woman. Sorry," Hinata mumbled. But if you can fool your friends, then you can fool your enemies." "Well, sure fooled me." "What's wrong?" Naruto asked, glancing at Sasuke, who frowned in annoyance. "My eyes itch," he muttered. "You're not dying on me, are ya?" "Heh, you wish." "Alright, kids, our enemies are formidable. Standard attack formation." Kakashi interrupted their banter, and immediately, they took a diamond formation. Naruto was in the front, Sasuke and Hinata on the sides, with Kakashi in the back. "Sorry, Naruto, but I imagine you'd want to take the lead on this one." "Hey, you know me too well, sensei," Naruto said with a grin as he looked down at the pains in his hands. "So this is the one that summons and the one that... I don't know what you do," he finished lamely. "Oh well." Cracks were heard, and Pain's eyes widened when the animal path and the Naraka path suddenly went limp in the blonde's hands. Things were not going as he intended. "QB, will you come peacefully?" the Deva path asked, which made Naruto grin again. "Why would I? It'd kill me, wouldn't it? If you do not, I will destroy your village. Your death will be all the more painful if you do. I can cut off his legs while you crush his nuts," Sasuke quipped, which made Naruto give off a bark of laughter. "Sounds like a deal," he said before grinning wider. "That is, we'll cut off the legs and crush the nuts of the real you." Pain was glad to see that the Senju's teammates were clueless as to what Naruto meant, which in turn meant that Pain only needed to silence him, preferably as swiftly as possible. Well then, no more time to chat. Pain and looked to his two remaining paths, the human and Preda. "Take care of the others. QB is me dash." Before he could finish, Naruto had already appeared in front of him, his fist raised and coming at him. "You are a dead man." Those words echoed in the head of the wide-eyed Pain as the fist came flying at him. Would he have time to use his Shimmer Tensei? No, if he did, he would not only hit his paths, but also Konan. "You are a dead man." Pain's eyes widened, and he unleashed more force than he had ever intended, sending not only Naruto, his paths, Konan, and Team 7 flying, but also shattering all the buildings around him. What was that? Pain muttered, rubbing his hand over his chest, just above his heart. For a moment there, Pain hadn't seen Senju Naruto. He had seen a terrifying creature in a white kimono with an evil, purple face, beady eyes full of evil intent, and a mouth filled with jagged teeth that looked capable of tearing through anything. Phew! Came a bark from Senju Naruto, who pushed his way through the rubble covering him. He looked more healthy than the others that were making their way out. Konan had yet to surface. When you blew back the old pervert with that thing, it didn't look nearly as powerful. Pain didn't respond, instead just glaring at the QB Jinchuriki. He hadn't expected this. He expected none of this. Just go into the village, make him hesitate out of worry for his fellow villagers. Take him down then, that was the plan. But to be so nervous just at the thought of receiving a single punch? "Get up!" Pain almost growled, watching his other two paths come out of the rubble to flank him. "You are dangerous, QB, there is no doubt about that. That's why." Naruto hummed as he watched Pain raise his hand. Out of his sleeve came a black rod, its composition unknown to him, but it looked like one of the spikes Haiden used for his ritual. "I have to take you down quickly," Pain hissed. "Shinra Tensei!" To an ordinary man, it happened in the blink of an eye. One blink, the rod was in Pain's hand, and the next, it was lodged in Naruto's chest. But to Uchiha Sasuke, who had pushed a rather large piece of rubble off himself, it all went at a snail's pace. For him, it took almost an hour to watch the rod flying from Pain's hand, but unfortunately, his body moved just as slow. He supposed this was the curse of the Sharingan, being unable to keep up with what one saw. The rod pierced Naruto's chest, launching him back from the force used and nailing him to the wall of one of the ruined buildings. "Naruto-kun!" came Hinata's scream at the same time as Sasuke heard Kakashi's gasp. But Sasuke didn't care. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Naruto couldn't be dead. There had to be a joke in here, right? Any second, that Naruto would explode into smoke, and the real one would bash Pain into the ground screaming. "Fooled you!" Right. But Naruto didn't explode into smoke. Instead, he coughed up blood, swearing to himself and clutching at the black rod sticking out of his chest, muttering something about chakra. Out of nowhere, images flashed through Sasuke's mind. Naruto, smashing his face in for flaunting his superior vocabulary. Naruto, giving him half his popsicle that evening when he was sad. Naruto, hugging him so hard that he felt he might pop like a balloon. Naruto, assuring him that they would be brothers forever as he cut his palm and offered Sasuke a blood oath. Naruto, who grinned so brightly when he told his team that he'd started becoming friends with Kurama. Naruto, who might suffer slowly as Kurama was pulled out of him. "If no one attacks, neither will we," Pain said simply, staring at Naruto. "We only came here for the Kyuubi." "Dare you?" Pain, who had taken a single step toward the blonde, ignoring the others, stopped and turned towards Sasuke, who was on his hands and knees, crying and clenching his fists. Wait, that wasn't tears. Was that blood? "How dare you!" Sasuke's head snapped up, and sure enough, tears of blood were pouring down his face, and his Sharingan had changed. The iris was black. The Sharingan had turned into 3 intersecting ellipses, and the eyes were spinning wildly. "That's my brother!" This was the first time since the Uchiha massacre that Sasuke had raised his voice, and it was as terrifying as one might have expected. A purple energy started covering Sasuke, a skeletal form taking shape around him. Pain recognized it immediately as Susanoo, one of Itachi's ultimate techniques. Before he could react, both the human and Preta paths burst into flames, the black, eternal flames of Amaterasu. The Preta path absorbed the flames without problem, but the human path was not so lucky. Pain didn't have time to watch the human path burn to cinders, as his focus was only on Sasuke right now. The Uchiha looked angry. With those tears of blood, he looked more like a berserker than a calm and collected Uchiha. "You're dead!" Pain barely had time to use his Shinra Tensei as the arm of the Susanoo came flying at him. He managed to repel it, and was about to sick his Preta path on the boy to drain him of his chakra, when the fat man suddenly tensed up and then spewed black flames from his mouth, flames that eventually covered his entire body. That's right, the flames of Amaterasu don't stop burning until their wielder wills them to. Pain realized with wide eyes. He snapped his gaze back to Sasuke, to see the raven-haired boy glaring at him with a crushing intensity. But as Pain made to escape, he felt someone grab him by the back of his neck. He looked over his shoulder to see the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, fit as a fiddle, holding him. He had a hole in his vest, and the armor and shirt underneath, but though there was blood, there was no wound. "That rod of yours was annoying. Restrained chakra and everything, but it's useless if I have someone to pull it out of me," Naruto said with a grin, then held out his arm, holding Pain a foot above the ground. "Sasuke! Give him hell!" Pain was in a state of absolute shock. This couldn't be happening, right? He was a god. A couple of brats couldn't kill him. So focused was he on the impossibilities of the situation that he never even used his Shinra Tensei to throw away Naruto. He could only stare in shock as Sasuke's Susanoo materialized a bow and arrow, took aim, and pulled the arrow back. This can't. Pain was, quite literally, cut off as the arrow came flying, and sliced him in half, just below the collarbone. "You!" Naruto muttered as he dropped the remains of Pain. Then, he turned towards Sasuke and grinned teasingly. Sasuke huffed, his Susanoo disappearing. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his new Sharingan was gone, replaced by his normal, dark eyes, as Hinata and Kakashi approached him. "We got the thing out of him. It was blocking the fox from being able to heal him. Missed his heart by about half an inch," Kakashi informed Sasuke, who refused to look at the approaching Naruto, who was still grinning at him. "Sasuke," Naruto said, which made the Uchiha twitch, but when he looked, the Senju had a gentle, sincere smile on his face, and, were his eyes watery? "I'm honored you think of me that way." That was all Naruto said before he brought Sasuke in for a hug that, as usual, felt like his head was going to pop any second. "No," Naruto said once he broke the hug. "How about we go hunt the real one?" "You said that before," Kakashi said, raising an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Naruto said, walking up to the remains of the last Pain kicking him, "these are corpses. And these." He reached down and pulled out one of Pain's piercings. "Are control rods. With this new nature chakra, my senses are at their peak. I could feel right away that something was wrong with these guys. And now that I'm holding this?" The puppet master is about half a click north of the village. The paper fortress disguised as a tree was torn apart as Team 7 made their way inside. Inside was a scrawny, red-haired man with multiple rods sticking out of his back, strapped to some kind of machine. He had a weak grin on his face as he looked to all three of Kakashi's students. "You three made short work of my paths impressive. We're not here to talk," Sasuke interrupted with a glare. "We're here to kill you. But don't you want to know Dash?" Naruto interrupted him this time, pulling Sasuke's sword from his hip and immediately piercing the mastermind's head. "Who gives a shit?" Naruto growled, watching the light leave the man's eyes. After a few moments of silence, Kakashi coughed into his fist. "Well, the ANBU have taken Haiden and the woman into custody, and people will want to study this guy's eyes, so I'll have to send a beacon for the ANBU. You guys did great today. I'll make sure to treat you to dinner tomorrow. For now, you guys should rest." "We will, sensei," Naruto said with a grin, before looking to the female member of their team. "By the way, Hinata, did you hear it?" Hinata couldn't hide her giggles as she glanced at Sasuke, who frowned. "Don't," he muttered, but Naruto was grinning again, slicing his finger with a kunai to draw bloody tears going down his eyes. "That's my brother!" he roared with glee, and Sasuke could feel an embarrassed blush blossoming on his face. That was the most moving thing I've ever heard. Oh yeah, that's why Sasuke didn't like Naruto sometimes. And so, Hinata giggled as Sasuke chased Naruto all the way back to Konoha, wildly swinging his sword.